Florida State and Georgia Tech are doing something that I think is absolutely brilliant that no other schools in America are doing. Starting their 2024 college football seasons with a conference game. I checked. I was blown away to learn this, Cole, that no other schools in America have a conference game to start. It seemed like that was a growing trend a couple of years ago. And when this thing first started taking a little steam, I thought like, not that into it. I'd rather, get a couple of tune-ups under my belt before I get into conference play. That's the way it had always been, right? Mm-hmm. You played 2 or 3 conference games early, or non-conference games early, I should say. Get your feet back under you, start playing those game speed reps, and then you start taking on your conference teams. But, man, I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's brilliant what Florida State and Georgia Tech are doing, playing a conference game to start the season. And as a matter of fact, Florida State is doing it twice. They, in a weird way, in a weird twist and turn, they play 2 games in week 1 of the season because they're not calling it week 0. Now a week isn't a week anymore. There's no such thing as a 7-day week anymore. Now it's like 12 days. Why not? Nothing matters. But Florida State take on Georgia Tech in Dublin. Turnaround on September 2nd. They'll play Boston College in Tallahassee. Both of them technically week 1 games, and I absolutely love it. Cole, welcome to Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Why am I wrong?
Well, I just think that later in the season, as the season continues to build and we get later and later into the month of October, I want games then that matter. I want games then that are of great importance. And I don't know that my biggest issue is playing all of them earlier on. But, Florida State's a great example. You said they're playing 2 off the bat. Mm-hmm. So they're playing Georgia Tech and Boston College to kick things off. And then that means when you look at their schedule, we looked at it yesterday, there's going to be 2 games later in the year that are not conference games. I understand why they do it. I just want the buildup. Yeah. I want later in the year, November 23rd, before they play Florida, by the way, at home in Doak Campbell Stadium, I want the buildup to be there. Instead, they're playing Charleston Southern on November 23rd. And, I guess that's a get right, stay healthy game before Florida. Yeah. And then they have a bye week before that.
The SEC does it. They take on the SoCon in a big way in that week right before their rivalry weekend. So this is not something that SEC teams don't do.
Sure. I like the buildup, though. I like teams being able to, I don't want to say test the waters, but if I'm a fan of a team, and I guess it's different from a fan perspective, Diesel, than it is for the coach. Maybe it's more similar than we think. But if you just start off the season rather with 2 ACC, 2 conference games, I think it does test you earlier than if you played Wofford earlier, if you played whoever, Charleston Southern. If you played Charleston Southern to start the year, obviously it tests you a little more. Here's where I'll say this, though. These teams are going to be okay, though, now, Diesel, playing these conference games earlier if they are a contender because the playoffs expanded. Yeah. So they do have a little more. Like, you remember when Clemson and Georgia played each other? I know it wasn't a conference game to start the year, but, there's very little wiggle room in a 4-team playoff. With more wiggle room now, maybe you start seeing more teams do that.
Remember, it is the 5 highest-ranked conference champions plus the next 7 highest-ranked teams, including, again, a group of 5 does get an automatic bid into this 12-team playoff. So all you have to do is be a conference champion. Now, certainly taking a loss in week 1 against Georgia Tech or taking a loss in week 2 against Boston College would hurt. Yes, it would very much hurt Florida State, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't get to the ACC championship game and still win it, right? That's all they have to do. It's not a regular season championship, even though I wish it was, right? I wish we were basing your entry into the playoffs on your entire body of work, 12 games worth of work. Then if you pull an upset and you win your conference championship game, that can be used as consideration for why you may deserve one of the additional 7 spots, right? But I don't like conference championship games deciding who represents the conference in the in the tournament, because a lot of people have had a problem with that anyway. They say, well, what if Rutgers gets into the conference championship game? This is one of the biggest reasons why they went away from divisions in a lot of these big conferences. What if the representative from the East is weak, but the representative from the West is really strong?
Sure.
And the representative from the East somehow pulls the wild upset and wins the conference championship game. Well, in my scenario, when the regular season, the full 12-game body of work is what gets you into the 12-team playoff, it doesn't matter anymore. Now, certainly they don't want to take away importance from conference championship games, but Mike Norvell said yesterday at ACC Media Days, Cole and I were there. We appreciate Ingles Markets for their support in getting us there. He opened his press conference yesterday talking about the sense of urgency in facing conference opponents in weeks 1 and 2. I think they're great. I think fans deserve for their teams to start their season on a high note where everything matters immediately in week 1. You know, when you take on the FCS team in week 1, well, okay, it's almost like a half bye to start your season. Yeah, it's great to have your team back out on the field, but you kind of know that they're going to win that game. And in a vast majority of the time, they do win that game. I want week number 1 to be huge, to be massive. And you're telling me that maybe a few more people won't tune in to Florida State, Georgia Tech, week 1 in Dublin, because they know this game could very well knock Florida State way down the list when it comes to representing the ACC in the 12-team playoff.
I definitely want week 1, week 0, whatever it is. I definitely want that week to have a big field. There's no doubt. I'm not saying that I don't want any big games, because it would be boring if everybody was playing FCS that weekend. I just prefer those big games to be non-conference games. I love Clemson, Georgia starting the season. I love a big-time feel. The only thing that I push back on is if I'm a coach, I do understand, even as a fan, I understand the importance of valuing that teams grow as the season goes on. Teams get better as the season goes on. And I understand from your perspective, you know, fans want that big game. Fans don't want to see Charleston Southern and Florida State week 1, week 0, whatever it is. They want to see something that's worthwhile. However, the flip side of it is, if I'm a coach, I do know that hey, you know what? Sometimes, Diesel, I may have a stacked team. They may be ready to go. But there may be other years where my team needs to develop, kind of like Clemson did last year, right? Ending on a good note with Kentucky. That Duke game, you talk about conference games, who'd Clemson open up with last year?
A
conference game.
It can bite you in the ass.
And that's exactly what happened. It bit them last year, and it was a bad thing for Clemson. Imagine if Florida State's conference opener this year was Clemson, how we would be viewing that differently than we're viewing Florida State and Georgia Tech.
Well, you also have to look at it as, I know a lot of teams are playing big-time opponents, right? Georgia, Clemson are playing. Notre Dame, Texas A&M are playing. I know that there are big matchups in week 1. I know that. But there are a lot of teams who are playing nobodies. They're playing sisters of the poor.
Yeah.
So if you know that your out-of-conference schedule is ultimately going to be weak, and Florida State's is not elite, okay? Georgia Tech, Boston College, bye week. Memphis, Cal, SMU, Clemson, bye week. Duke, Miami, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, and Florida. Their out of conference is not great. It's Memphis, it's Charleston Southern, and it's Florida. So if I'm them, I know my fans aren't going to be super excited about this. I want to play an opponent that my fans actually care about, that may have some implications on the line, and that more people may tune into and say, oh, wow, this is really interesting. They're playing who, where? Again, this was something that was starting to pick up a little bit of steam in years past, and it blew me away as I was looking for the schedule. And by the way, ESPN.com, it's time. We're like 30 days away from college football. It's time to put NCAA FB back on the main ticker. When you go on ESPN.com,
not there.
It's not there.
Oh
no, we got to sift through it.
Wasn't there Olympics?
Yeah, we got to go to the other little drop down next to it. I got NFL, NBA. Why NBA? NBA's done, guys. Major League Baseball, NHL, soccer, WNBA, and then there's that 3 little dots with the drop-down menu where you select, and then like NCAA football is midway through that list.
So what's weird is
it's like there's boxing, cricket, horse racing, and NASCAR before you see NCAA football.
Here's what's weird. On my computer right here, NCAA football is the very first one.
What?
Yeah, it's the very first one on the top left. Mine is. I don't know. What, maybe you have a broken laptop over there that doesn't support college football. I mean, I don't know what's here's the issue. The bigger issue that we haven't discussed today. The big problem with this conference opener. If you want me to buy in to a conference opener for Florida State and Georgia Tech, maybe you can get me there. Maybe you can get me. However, if the game's in Dublin, Ireland, you're not going to get me there in terms of being excited for it. Number one, who's getting the gate for that game? Who's getting the money? Are they splitting it? I don't know how that works with the ticket allotment if it were a home game and whoever the home team is, in Ireland, who the home team is. I think Georgia Tech's the home team. Don't hold me to that. But if this game was in Atlanta, imagine the same day just down the road, you've got Georgia Clemson. Same day, guess what? You've got Georgia Tech. And I know this game's earlier, but I'm just saying hypothetically. Sure. Those two in the same city. I mean, can you imagine the buzz?
Now, we were talking about it yesterday. What if Clemson, Georgia was the noon kickoff as it is, and Florida State, Georgia Tech was being played on campus at Georgia Tech in the primetime game? Would you be with me there requesting credentials? We'll go see a double-double?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Not Georgia Southern, though.
That was Georgia State.
Georgia. Oh, is it Georgia State?
He's like, I don't care to go watch Georgia State taking on Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I'm good.
T Swizzle asked, when does the first preseason poll come out? Well, the first official AP poll, by the way, comes out Monday, August 12th at noon. That's when we'll get the very first Monday, August 12th. Thank you, T Swizzle, for that question.
Those polls, I get it. You got to have a poll.
Yeah.
But like when you get from 4 to 16, I don't really look at them.
I have a big issue with those as a fan of a smaller school. I don't like the preseason AP polls being used in advertising because the committee starts to internalize that, right? I mean, we know that when we look at 1 through 5, as you said, they're probably pretty accurate. Like we all kind of have a pretty good sense of who the top 5 teams in America are.
Pretty easy.
But everybody outside of that, it's a little blurrier, right? So the problem is all these people who are tasked with watching football and deciding, all the committee members, they will look back and say, oh, well, this was number 9 Michigan versus number 25.
I agree 100%
Iowa State, right?
Why can't we?
So they'll look at it and say, ooh, this was a really good Michigan team, right? So they'll start to internalize by seeing that single-digit number next to Michigan's logo. They'll internalize this was a really good Michigan team, so they may overvalue Michigan throughout the season because that early AP poll thought very highly of them.
To that point, why can't we say, okay, let's set a date for the college football playoff, which they already have. They've set a date. You know how we get halfway through the year and then they'll all of a sudden start getting the Final Four and whatever. We'll have the shows on Tuesday nights. Let's just say, hey, we're not going to have any polls come out until then. What is the point? Because if you do that, you're doing exactly what you said. You're giving a team who right now, Louisville's ranked. Miami, or there's 4 teams on Clemson's roster that are ranked, and they're not going to be ranked when the season's over. What is the point of Louisville being ranked inside the top 25 right now? Because at the end of the season, they're not going to be ranked. That's my point.
That would be Georgia, NC State, who's ranked 18th, Florida State, who's ranked 15th, Louisville, who's ranked 21st.
That's right.
So, yeah, those are the 4 ranked teams. And they don't know. So they may –
NC State won't be either, in my opinion.
Louisville should be starting outside of the top 25, but they just don't know. And you see a number next to it, and you start to assume. Now, I understand that the AP poll is unofficial, right? Yeah. The only official poll is the College Football Playoff Committee poll.
Sure.
And they don't start that until midway through the season. So everybody who complains, me included, because I just did it, we're all complaining that these numbers shouldn't exist. Well, as far as the playoff committee is concerned, they don't exist. My point is that there's no way that it doesn't have some influence.
There's no way. You cannot convince me that the voters who are on that committee don't look at those AP rankings.
You
You can't, because it's right beside the team.
Yeah, you can't not look at it.
You can't not look at it. So you're telling me, what you're saying is there's a publication, the AP. The AP has these pointless rankings that we're sticking beside these teams, and then 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks from now, we're going to still have those numbers, which, by the way, don't mean anything. So do not read those numbers beside those teams is what you're basically telling me.
If you're an AP voter, you basically work the first half of the season, right? I mean, you work from now gathering your information all the way through week, 8, I believe, when they start doing the college football, the official committee rankings.
Something like that.
Past that, the AP doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter anymore because now the AP, the committee has just snatched all the importance of the AP poll out from under you. Now, I put a lot more stock in the AP poll because it is a ton of sports writers from all over the country, and it is a consensus from how many people even vote on the AP
Probably
poll? It's like 100.
Yeah.
It's like 100 different sports writers who write on this. Some of them are a little more biased than others. Some of them don't pay. Like if they're on the West Coast, they're maybe not paying a ton of attention to East Coast, and vice versa. East Coast writers maybe not paying a ton of attention to West Coast, but that is their charge.
Yeah,
that is their job to pay attention to that. But it doesn't always happen that way.
Texter on the text line says, has the top 12, not in all caps, had a team with 3 losses in the last 5 years? This comes from the 327. You can text the show throughout the entirety of the program, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Trying to think off the top of my head. A team with 3 losses in the top 12. Sure, had to have, right? There has to be a team. I mean, without looking, there has to be. There's no way. I'm thinking like a Oregon from a few years ago. That's a good question, Texter. I guess that's your point of, I think earlier we discussed.
Yeah. I'm going to look at the 2023 SEC standings, okay? Because that's the most powerful conference. If there was going to be a 3-loss team inside the top 12, last year, LSU had 3 losses.
Yeah.
Let's see.
They're
Tennessee
right there.
Tennessee
on the
had
bubble. 4,
and I'm not. I don't remember specifically Tennessee's season. Did they start out strong and they sort of did they fall off down the stretch? I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, would you look at last year's LSU team and tell them that they are not good enough to get into the 12-team playoff?
Well, Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, exactly.
No, probably. I would say they're probably a top 12 team without looking, again, off the top of my head, without looking at the entirety of it. No, I think last year they were a top 12 team. I don't know exactly where they finished, but I'll tell you this.
2023 final AP top 25.
There will be a 3-team
Number
loss.
12. Number 12 was a 3-loss LSU. Number 11 was a 3-loss Arizona. Then you get into Ohio State, Ole Miss, Missouri, and Oregon, who all had 2 losses. And that includes I think that includes the bowls.
Yeah, so
that includes
the teams that would have been on the outside last year were Penn State, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, and as you said, a 4-loss Tennessee team. Mm-hmm. Which I think ultimately is a good thing. I do. I think it's going to be the 3-loss teams are going to have a shot at getting in. However, I think that 3rd loss kind of equals Diesel a 2nd loss in the college football playoff when it was 4 teams. It's kind of similar because if you had 2 losses, could you get in? Maybe.
Yeah.
But the surefire way now, in my opinion, with the 12 team is 1 loss, you're okay. As long as it's a reputable loss, you're fine. You're in. If you have 1 loss, because last year inside that top 12, Washington was a 1-loss team, Georgia was a 1-loss team, Florida State was a 1-loss team, and that was it. So those 3 teams were in.
So to go back to the original point with starting the season off with a conference game, let's just say that Florida State loses week 1 against Georgia Tech. It's a long flight. You're in a different country. God. Something weird could happen, right? And Georgia Tech is not an awful football team. They're just certainly not on the level of a Florida State. You telling me that an 11-1 Florida State team that rattled off an undefeated, that rattled off 11 straight wins after a Georgia Tech game in Ireland week 1, you telling me they're not going to the ACC championship game? They would have gone 7-1 in conference. They're going to the conference championship game. So I don't think it necessarily costs you a ton, but it does put week 1 implications out of the gate. It makes it unique. No other schools in the country are doing this. I checked, okay? Big 12, Big 10, SEC, Conference USA, MAC, Mountain West, Sun Belt. No other teams are doing this in college football this year. These are the only two. And Florida State does it with 2 straight conference games.
And to your point, the risk is small now because it's a 12-team playoff. If we were speaking a year ago, or if the playoff hadn't changed and we're talking about conference games being earlier, I think there's a big conversation to be had. But I do now think that there is a 12-team playoff. I think you will start to see more teams schedule conference games because there is less risk, if you will, in my opinion.
I mean, imagine starting off with a straight conference schedule and then booking a bunch of FCSs at the end of the year. You start putting up 60, 70. I'm just taking this to the point of the extreme, right? Sure. Where you're beating Charleston Southern's ass 74-0. And then the committee says, oh my God, this Florida State offense is incredible. You see how many touchdowns DJU threw for in that last game against Charleston Southern? He's incredible.
It'd be something else. I'm interested to see if more programs start to do it. Speaking of programs, I asked the question in the very next segment. We were at ACC Media Days yesterday. You'll be there tomorrow, Diesel. Does the ACC now belong to someone other than Clemson? I know Clemson had a down year last year. Florida State, North Carolina has been in the hunt over the last few years. But if Clemson's no longer the title holder of the ACC, who is? When you think of the ACC, I believe most people in the audience, and I say most because I don't want to categorize everyone together. I believe most people think of Clemson when they think of the ACC. 21 championships, Florida State right behind them, though, at 16 championships. And then behind that, you've got to look all the way down to 9 to find Maryland. So
I was going to guess. I thought you were going to make me guess.
No, it's
Maryland.
It's a big drop off. Yep, Maryland with 9
like
ACC
30s?
championships. Last one was 2001. So the question is for the ACC. Clemson did a heck of a job from 2015 to 2022. They won every ACC championship besides one. The 2021 championship where Pittsburgh won it, and that was their first one in a very, very long time. They did not see the ACC championship. Clemson then went on to defeat North Carolina the very next year and get back on track. And as we know, Diesel, Florida State defeated the regular season runner-up Louisville last year in the ACC championship. So I asked a question to you as well as our Tolos, who can text into the show, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Phone lines are open as well, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Are we about to see a shift of the ownership in the ACC while this conference is still a conference for the time being, right? Because Clemson and Florida State are going to be in it for another 2 years for sure. Are we going to see a team other than Clemson own this conference, Diesel, if the conference stays around for another, let's say, 10 years just for kicks and giggles? Or are you going to play the side of, no, Clemson's not going anywhere, that's still their conference?
Well, I can tell you, and I can tell Madcraft to his face, that Miami will never own this conference because Miami currently has fewer ACC championships than South Carolina does.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You had to go there.
0 for Louisville, 0 for Boston College, for Syracuse, for Notre Dame, and a big fat goose egg for Miami. South Carolina has an ACC title, and we're back year after year. Miami Hurricanes ain't got none.
That's embarrassing.
You turn that you just kind of bring the tips together,
gosh,
and it gives you a big
bring
fat
the
O.
together?
The tips.
Oh,
you got to touch the tips, the fingertips.
That is bad that
wrong with
Miami, if you're a Miami fan, you can say South Carolina has more ACC champion. That is rough, man. You went for the jugular there on those. I don't know how many Hurricane fans besides Madcraft we have listening.
Zach Brown's a Hurricane fan. Hurricane Jeff is a Hurricane fan.
Really?
So we got minimum 3.
We got 3 at least. We've got 3 at least. I'm surprised. I don't think I know anyone personally that is.
They'll start multiplying once they can figure out what hole to stick it in.
Oh, God. You talk about me going dark. You went a lot more rated R than I went there. So back to the question. Clemson, in my opinion, Diesel's not going anywhere. I don't think that Florida State, while they are very good, they were very, very good last year, I don't think that Florida State's going to take the conference by storm the way that Clemson did, winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight, and then 7 out of 8.
JD, sorry, I got distracted by JD's question here. He says, where would be, I think he means where would South Carolina be if Clemson had gone to the SEC and South Carolina had stayed in the ACC? We'd probably still be stuck. Yeah, you probably would be. Look, one of the best things about being an elite level program, the way Clemson and Florida State have been, because they are by far the class of this conference. You go down to NC State as current members go, it's a drop off from 16 for Florida State to 7 for NC State. The class of a conference, programs like that have a tradition and a history of winning, they can fall off for 2, 3, 4, 5 years tops, right? And then they're making the changes they need to make to get back. Other programs don't know what changes they need to make to get back to championship pedigree because they don't know what the hell championship pedigree
Never been there.
Right. So these are the programs who don't tolerate crappy OCs. These are the programs that don't tolerate head coaches and keep them out around 3 or 4 more years than they're supposed to because they say, well, who can we get that's better, right? So if the trend continues and Clemson doesn't win an ACC championship this year. Bet your ass that Clemson fans will finally wake the hell up and start demanding a change in that program. They're not going to go 2, 3, 4, 5 years without a conference championship. They are not. And if ultimately, and I'm not saying it's this year, don't anyone try to put words in my mouth. But if we're talking 2027, 2028, Clemson has not won another ACC championship game, assuming they're all still in the same conference, leadership's going to have to make a change. Dabo Swinney be out on his ass. And he would probably tell you the exact same thing. He'd say, I deserve to be fired if I can't win championships at Clemson with what we have, with the facilities that we have, with the tradition that we have.
No, the reality of it is that's the bare minimum. You know, that's the bare minimum, Diesel, for Clemson and for Dabo Swinney is to win the ACC.
Yeah.
You should expect to win the ACC every year. Now, to your point, if that doesn't happen, obviously not only reality is going to change, but national perspective, which is already tarnished a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I hear about it more and more every day.
Feinbaum taking shots again.
Well, I'll give you a great example. This morning, I was doing a radio hit on a radio station in Florida on the Panhandle about ACC Media Days. And the guys there, obviously, in Florida radio, Diesel, were talking about that. Asked me about that. The public perception of Dabo and what happens if this continues, because I don't think that we realize, being in a local market, I don't think we realize that the public perception of Dabo is not as – people aren't as high on him as they were 5-6 years ago.
Sure.
Because of – I mean, the guys in Florida this morning asking me about Dabo's inability. It's not just us. So when we get text messages on the text line, people mad at us because we're talking about Dabo's inability to adapt to the portal, people all across the country are talking about it. So
we're just ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it's reality.
Some of y'all are living with your heads in the sand like an ostrich.
It's reality. 432 on the text line says ACC won't be around long enough for teams who weren't originals with a good history to overtake Clemson. And yeah, I mean, not wrong. You're not wrong, Texter. And again, in this scenario that I brought up, I'm just pretending like the ACC does stick around another 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know that it does, but I'm just saying in a hypothetical question, we're pretending that the ACC is around 10, 15, 20 years from now. And if that were the case, who would run the conference? 327 says, it's hilarious that Kiffin has never won a conference title or national title, yet he's a treasure. Dabo fails to win one consecutive, and he's trash.
Oh, well, Texter says who to both of those statements. So those are two different things that you just said. Kiffin has never won a conference title or national title, and yet he's a treasure. Says who? Who said that? Who said that, and when did we say it? Did either of us say it? And then he says Dabo fails to win one consecutively, and he's trash. Who said that? Did either of us just say that Dabo Swinney, because he did not win the conference championship last year, is trash? No, neither one of us said that. But what I said, Texter, was 3, 4, 5 years from now, if he hasn't won another one, a change has to be made.
And that's true. I mean,
so don't go putting words in our mouths.
No, nobody said he was trash. Me and Diesel, again, not to put words in Diesel's mouth, I think both of us would agree that Dabo is one of the best coaches in the country right now. Even with his inability to adapt, he's still one, in my opinion, he's still one of the best coaches in the country. However, we're just saying hypothetically in the future, if he doesn't adapt, and Kiffin's a treasure because of what Kiffin says. To me, yeah, I'll say he's a treasure. I have no problem. It's not because of what he's done on the field. You and I talked about Kiffin a week ago, Diesel, and in terms of it's kind of put up or shut up for Lane Kiffin this season at Ole Miss. We're not ever saying Kiffin's a treasure because, he's done this on the field or done that. He's a funny guy. He goes at Paul Feinbaum, right? And we love him for that. I know that he's not anywhere close to what Dabo Swinney's done, in my opinion.
And to that texter's point, Dabo Swinney is still one of the best coaches in the country. But Dabo Swinney does not have the best talent in the country anymore. He does not have the talent that compete and win against the best teams in the country anymore.
Yeah.
His ability to coach has not changed.
Sure.
And we haven't questioned his ability to coach. We have questioned his ability and his willingness to go do what it takes to get players in the modern age of college football. That is certainly part of coaching. That is part of what talent acquisition is part of what a head coach does. Head coaches usually don't do all of the recruiting, right? You have recruiting coordinators, you have position coaches. They're the ones who go out and recruit talent. Like running backs coaches go out and recruit running backs. if it's a best of the best in the country, top 5 recruit, Dabo Swinney will get involved, right? Because that may be the thing that ultimately puts this decision in Clemson's pocket.
Well, T Swizzle's right on the stream, in my opinion. T Swizzle says you got to stay on top, though. If you want to be the man, Texter, going back to you, Dabo Swinney built this program at Clemson. He built the success, and along with that, he also built expectations, right? So you build the expectations. Don't be upset because the fans now want you to live up to those expectations that you built. So it's a double-edged sword. Being successful, coaches will tell you time after time that getting to the top, Diesel, is not the hard part. The hard part, stay in there. Because we've seen it over college football. People can read. Ed Orgeron, great example. He was there not even 5 years ago, right?
Once you're at the top, people can now study what you've done to get there, and they can study and look at what makes you great and then game plan against that and try to beat that, right? That's the difference between being the hunter and the hunted. People now know exactly what you are. You're under a microscope. You've got more people looking into your program than ever before. And so that's why it's so hard. You got to then be able to innovate. Now, remember when we were talking about Dabo Swinney keeping elite coordinators around him, keeping the Brent Venables and the Tony Elliott's and keeping those guys around for a long time. And we, at the time, thought it was brilliant, right? It's like we've seen all of this changeover in all these schools, and we've seen them have a hard time keeping their offensive production up year after year after year. Well, that's tough because it's hard to replace the best with another version of the best. Nick Saban could do it because he's Nick Saban, right? And he is the GOAT when it came to replacing talent.
And I would even argue that Dabo did a better job of keeping talent on his staff than Saban did. And that's not Saban's fault because
but eventually it gets stale.
It does.
Eventually it gets
stale. And look, in my opinion, last thing I'll say, Dabo kept talent at Clemson in terms of coaching staff longer than I thought he would.
Sure.
I didn't think Brent Venables would stay there as long as he did. You know, Tony Elliott, the grass isn't always greener, right? Look at Tony Elliott now. Not always greener.
Sure.
So, I think he did a good job of keeping who he had.
There's two very distinct ways of looking at it. You could take the Dabo Swinney method of keeping elite coordinators around you, hoping that they innovate by being innovative individuals, right?
Yeah.
So you still keep Brent Venables around, but Brent Venables is really good at innovating and coming up with something new. Or you take the Nick Saban approach, where it was a revolving door of elite level coordinators, both on the offensive and defensive side. But guess what? Bringing in the best of the best, he was also able to bring in a whole new set of experiences and ideas coming in from those guys. And he was able to change what Alabama did year in and year out to stay ahead of the curve.
He was. And it's fascinating to see those guys that left. Again, there's another curve when you leave. And Tony Elliott, man, I like Tony Elliott, but he's experiencing that firsthand.
Looking forward to getting a chance checking in maybe a little bit later on in the show, if off air or on air, with Rob Brown, who spent day number 2 at ACC Media Days in Charlotte there at the Hilton Uptown Hotel. I'll be there tomorrow. Unfortunately, riding solo because my man Cole Bryson going to be back here in the network studios.
Somebody's got to do the work.
Somebody's got to run the board. When we come back, we'll take a look around the college sports world, around the pro sports world, and even the international sports world for our Daily Wires. That's coming up next, right here on The Fan Upstate. Very much appreciate our sponsor, Ingles, for making our trip to ACC Media Days possible. Cole and I were there yesterday. I'll be there on site again tomorrow, but Rob Brown from the morning show, and he's the road warrior. He's been there the last couple of days. Rob was on site again for day two. Rob, do we know that? I mean, we talked about yesterday how the ACC appears to maybe be paring down the ACC Media Days entire entity. Today, both Cal and Stanford were on site together. Do we know if they carpooled to get to Charlotte or if they flew separately? What was the vibe on site like today?
Well, I'll start first off. They did. They're very eco-friendly out in California. They brought a Tesla bus. I didn't even know they made those,
Sweet.
But they jammed everybody into one. No, it was, it's interesting you brought that up. I know you and I and Cole all kind of talked about it yesterday, but I was willing to give the event a couple of days, right, to see if it picked up, to see if it got busier, to see if there were more media personalities, because there were less there today than there was last week. And I kind of thought, all right, you got two of the newcomers in here. You would have kind of thought that you would have had a ton of media, even from Cal. I know it's a very long way away from South Carolina, but you'd have thought there would be a good amount of media. I'm going to be straight up with you. I didn't see like a Cal or Stanford reporter there, right? Like there wasn't somebody there that's very clearly. There's three tables of people covering Clemson. There's three tables of people covering Florida State. And obviously it's a little easier to get to Charlotte from Clemson or from Tallahassee, but there wasn't I didn't see anybody that was there with the intent and purpose of covering the two California teams. So the event is clearly scaled back. You, the three of us talked about yesterday. Is this because they're worried about money? Is this because they're trying to save? Is this because the ACC is in total turmoil and they're trying not to overdo it? Like, what's the cause for this thing being scaled back so much? And it was obvious today that it was.
But you know what's crazy, though? Yesterday when Jim Phillips spoke, Rob, there were hundreds in that big conference room. So it's like, did those media members that were there, I mean, we saw it when they left. It was like a floodgate, and they literally left. Most of them did. I just don't think there's a big enough draw of anyone who's there outside of the teams of the beats that they cover to bring a large media contingent in other than Jim Phillips and probably Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. This isn't this is something that for years I have fought against as a media member. But it's very obvious now that it matters that this isn't the Big Ten or the SEC, right? Like it just has a different feel. You looked around today, and I haven't seen anybody sitting at the Louisville tables or the Miami tables. I suspect they will be there tomorrow when those two schools show up. But you don't really have the big wigs walking around. Like when SEC and Big Ten Media Days, you've got the Dennis Dodds and the Paul Feinbaums and the who's who of talking heads that are kind of around college football. You had ACC network personalities there, and that's it, right? The guys that only cover that network. And then for the local dudes, it's pretty much guys who cover the teams, and really only some of them, right? I mean, there's two schools from Virginia there, and I think I saw one Virginia-based radio station that was there to cover this event. So it's just kind of, for me, the last 2 days been an awakening. We already kind of knew the SEC is a zombie conference, like it's Walking Dead, and the only thing that keeps the heart monitor beeping away is that Florida State and Clemson are legally obligated to stay in it for right now, or pay hundreds of millions of dollars to get out. But I think these last 2 days, and I suspect when I get back out there Thursday morning, it'll be a little more crowded with Dabo and Clemson there, because he always kind of brings that rock and roll crowd with him. It's just been an illustration that this conference is dying. It is fighting for not even relevance, existence at this point, and it's having a real hard time finding that footing.
Rob, can you take us into some of the players and the coaches that were walking around? I know yesterday it was a little difficult for us all to grab players and bring them on because they didn't really do it the same way as they have done in years past. But, I mean, the two biggest stars that would have been on site today would have, I assume, been Brent Pry, head coach at Virginia Tech, and assuming he was there, Kyron Drones from Virginia Tech, the quarterback. Those are the two big names who might have been there. Did you get anything from any of those guys? Did they give you any time?
I got to talk to a couple of folks. We talked to Pat Narduzzi from Pitt, and, obviously Pitt coming off a 3 and 9 year, very disappointing for them last year, but they were a very young team last year, and they were a team that really didn't have an identity. I think they're bringing back like 8 offensive starters this year, and Narduzzi went deep into trying to reestablish an identity and be a little bit more of a physical team. Clemson goes up to Pitt this year, and he told me, like, that's a red circle game for us. Not because any of the schools are trying to beat Clemson or Florida State any more than they ordinarily would, but obviously those are the two big schools in the conference, and those are the two front runners to win the conference. So he talked about, listen, by the time Clemson gets up there, we want to have gone back to playing Pitt football. And I said, what is Pitt football to you? And he said, physical, hard-nosed, run the football, but that they brought their quarterback, got an opportunity to talk to Jake. He's another dude that spoke a lot about identity, spoke a lot about trying to just figure out who they are and what they plan on doing. And you got to read into that a little bit. I did not get to speak to any of the players from Stanford, but I did get to actually speak to, funny enough, their social media guy who was hanging around in the pit today, and talk to them about coming over. And, they try to sell you that they're super geeked up about ACC ball, but you just kind of get the vibe that Stanford's like the ugly guy that gets invited to the frat party. He's just happy to be there kind of thing. Like, I'm just happy to have somewhere to be. And they kind of don't really have a ton of expectations other than try to fix Stanford football and try to get to where they can compete in the ACC over the next few years. But today, like I said, kind of a weird day. We talked to a little bit of a couple of the Virginia Tech players, and today was a day primarily made up of teams that are trying to find their way. Cal and Stanford, new to the conference, don't really know where they fit in yet, and are going to try to establish West Coast football in an East Coast conference. But with them only being 2 of them, I don't know if that's going to work. And obviously Virginia with a new coach, Virginia Tech fallen off where they wanted to be last year. Today's theme for the teams that were there were really teams that don't have an identity and are trying to find one coming into this year.
Rob, 30 seconds. We talked about this on the 5 o'clock fight yesterday. Who has the better 2024 season, Klubnik or DJU?
Oh, I'm going to say DJ, and here's why. I've now got back-to-back examples of Dabo Swinney and Clemson not being able to develop a quarterback. We talked about this yesterday, Cade. DJ Uiagalelei had something last year that Cade is not. A year to develop without pressure on him, right? Like, there was not pressure on him. So now he's had a year to grow and develop without people grinding on him. Oh, you suck. You're not worth the NIL money. And now he gets to try to transpose that over to a place where there is a ton of pressure. I'm going to say DJU has a better year this year.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good time tonight.
Hey, I'm going to listen to Cree Boys. It's like I'm a 2003 frat boy again. Let's go.
That's Rob Brown of The Rob Brown Show. We'll look at the college football Cinderella. Diesel and I will give you ours next. Everybody loves the Cinderella, right? That's the reason March Madness is what it is. It's not the brackets. It's not the blue bloods. It's the team that no one expects to be there, that makes an incredible run, that captivates the entire country, goes all the way into the Sweet 16, Elite 8, sometimes Final Four, very rarely national championship. But the Cinderellas are what captivates the audience. And we look at now the Cinderellas in 2024 college football. Obviously, Diesel, it's a lot harder. It's a lot more difficult to be a Cinderella in college football rather than college basketball. However, if we now have an expanded playoff with 12 teams, maybe we have a team that can be a Cinderella. I think with the 4-team playoff, pretty much the Cinderellas were told they weren't allowed to enter the door of the castle. However, I believe that castle door is open now. So we have to find the team that could be the Cinderella. And as Diesel and I do that, you can get your vote in as well. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Phone lines open as well.
So first of all, we have to define what a Cinderella team is, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, a Cinderella team has to come from outside of the top 15, and it has to be a team that's not traditionally looked at as a power team, or not, let me rephrase that, not traditionally looked at as a team that has business being in the college football playoff. Now, obviously, this year we're looking at much different parameters with the expanded college football playoff. I mean, there's a handful of candidates here. I'm just looking at some of the preseason early ratings of teams who might be potential Cinderella teams here. And I mean, it's hard to look at, even if we start with number 11, if we start outside the top 10, LSU, you can't say LSU is a Cinderella because they've always been an elite program, right? You can't say Michigan is a Cinderella because they're defending national champions, even though they have a new head coach, new quarterback. I don't think you could look at Michigan as being a Cinderella, right?
No
you can't do that. Could you look at Tennessee as being a Cinderella? Clemson, you certainly couldn't. Missouri, that might be the first real option for a Cinderella in the top 30 right now.
Missouri's definitely, in my opinion, and again, you the Tolos, you the listeners, you can let us know as we go through these if you agree or disagree. Missouri is definitely a Cinderella. The teams you mentioned prior, no. Right. Here's one's interesting.
The only one that I might spike in just a little bit is Penn State being a preseason number 6.
Okay.
But they are preseason number 6, right?
Sure.
So it's almost at this point expected. And so I think that maybe precludes them a little bit from being a Cinderella.
Here's one team that I do think is interesting in terms of just debating, just finding out if they are a Cinderella. We just talked about them a few minutes ago in hour number 1, Diesel. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss. Texters, Tolos, 71307. I want to hear from you right now on this. Is Ole Miss, would they be considered a Cinderella? Diesel, I say yes, Ole Miss would be considered a Cinderella. Am I wrong on that?
I think yes. I mean, they are a program that has never traditionally had a ton of successes, never enjoyed a ton of time in the top 10. Yes, they'll spike in from time to time. They'll have a great first half of a season, and then they'll struggle down the stretch. It's kind of a symptom of playing in the SEC West. But Ole Miss, I think, very much has a chance to be a Cinderella.
So you said they are. It's okay for you to. Okay,
I would think so.
No, I think so too.
It's still kind of in that fuzzy gray area. It's calling Ole Miss a Cinderella. It's you got more of a case calling them a Cinderella than you would a Penn State.
Yeah.
But then again, both of these teams are starting inside of the top 10. They have both had elite recruiting classes for a long time. Kiffin's crushing it in the transfer portal, but I do think Ole Miss, yes, could be.
And to your point, you said as we started to figure out what Cinderella meant,
sure,
you got to have a history. And Ole Miss has no history.
Right.
Not lately. I mean, even though they're relevant, they haven't been relevant, right? They haven't been relevant come December and January. So I do think I would consider them. Now, you brought up Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting when you look at Penn State because for all of James Franklin's success in Happy Valley, those guys have yet to reach the college football playoff. They have not one time made the college football playoff. In fact, Diesel, it's been nearly 30 years since Penn State has been even in contention for a national title. So I think that's where I hear you. If you're ranked preseason, what are they, 8?
Yeah. No, 6.
Okay, if you're ranked 6, it's hard to say you're a Cinderella, but then I go back to what we talked about in segment 1. What do those rankings mean? They could be terrible this year.
Yeah, the hard part with I mean, you look at Penn State just under James Franklin, they're all over the place.
They are.
Right? I mean, they've won 10 games 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And how long has he been there? What? He's been there for 9 seasons.
Seems like a long. Okay,
so he's won 10 games in over half of his seasons at Penn State, but he's peppering that 7-6, 7-6, 9-4. It's not an awful season. 4-5, 2020, 2021, 7-6 again. So he'll have these great seasons and then fall back to earth, and then have a great season and then fall back to earth.
Inconsistent, right?
Yeah, very inconsistent. If he was winning 9 games every year, that'd be a different story.
They've won 10-plus games for 2 straight seasons. Their defense is going to be nasty this year. They bring back the 22nd most production in the sport of college football. So they're going to be a team that has talent. I just think it's fascinating to look at them specifically and try to determine whether they would be considered a Cinderella or not. On the Ole Miss front, JD on the stream says, I'm torn. I'm going to go no on Cinderella because everyone's predicting them to be there this year. It also kind of depends on how they go into the playoffs, if they make it. Madcraft says, my personal opinion is no team from the SEC can be considered a Cinderella with the exception of Vandy. Why not? Is that legitimate or no? I mean,
well, to me, I mean, pole position, preseason pole position is only part of it, right? You have to look at the programs that the national media looks at as outsiders. Penn State is an insider, for better or worse. As much as we will, try to bring them back down to earth by saying they've had a lot of bad seasons, the national media always looks at Penn State as if they're a preseason top 10, top 15 team, right?
Sure.
I mean, they're one of those schools that kind of gets the benefit of the doubt more often than not, even though a lot of times we look at it and say, you don't necessarily deserve it. They've got a lot of great brand power. I mean, they've got way more brand power at Penn State than they have at Ole Miss.
They do,
right?
I would say yeah. 615 on the text line says, Penn State, Ole Miss, not Cinderellas. He or she on the text line does ask, how about Utah? I think Utah every year is a Cinderella.
Could be. A Cinderella. I mean, think about the children's tale of Cinderella. She was an outsider. She was an underdog. She came from nothing and made her way all the way to the tippy top and become a princess, right? I mean, you can't say that a school like Penn State is starting from the outside. They're not.
So,
and to who was it? Was it Madcraft or was it JD? It's Madcraft who said that no team from the SEC can be considered a Cinderella. Ole Miss doesn't really feel like an outsider. I mean, I know they are.
Yeah.
Historically, they are, but they don't feel like an outsider. To me, Missouri feels more like an outsider than Ole Miss because Missouri, even though they've won the SEC more times than South Carolina, they don't feel like an insider. They feel like that odd duck in the conference, right? They feel like Missouri, maybe it's my age here, Missouri feels like they're still a basketball school who are just popping up and having great football seasons every now and again.
Here's one that's super interesting. And T-Swizzle brought it up. I already had it pulled up on my screen, but I think that this is probably the biggest debate when it comes to Cinderella. Not can they be, because we'll get to that in a minute, but are they? Diesel, is Miami considered a Cinderella? You can say, well, no, they're the Miami brand, but what we say an hour ago, they've never won a championship in the ACC. So where do you I mean, this is a tough one.
No, they can't be because of the brand, right? Okay. I mean, there's a lot of factors going into this. It's not like it's 1-0, sure. Binary. It's ones or it's either on or off. I mean, it is a combination of a lot of different factors. Miami has incredible recruiting year in and year out. They have an incredible NIL thing going where they're getting the best of the best players, and then they squander it every single year. right? I mean, they are the team that manages to do less with more every single year. And it's frustrating as a college football fan because, God, the comedy and the flash and the panache of any Miami team being back, even though it's not the Miami of the late 1980s and the 1990s, there's going to be this expected bit of flash and flare from that program that's going to be so much fun to watch. No, Miami is not a Cinderella.
No, they're not. I agree with you there.
You got to come from basically nothing if you want to be a Cinderella.
I think in the SEC, obviously Vandy is because they're Vandy, but Missouri having no success in terms of the program winning championships, they're definitely a Cinderella. Yeah, they've won SEC East titles, but what are you going to do? Hang a banner for winning the East? Missouri, in my opinion, is a Cinderella. Can you consider, because here's one that we've briefly mentioned, but not gone into a ton of detail. I think you can consider Diesel NC State a Cinderella if they were to make the playoff. Any pushback there?
I mean, I like it. NC State is a program that has never really had that ton of success. They've gotten a little bit of run early in the season. People feel good about NC State for a couple of weeks, and then, once they start actually playing a handful of tough teams, they crumble. So if NC State did go on that kind of run, and by the way, where is NC State in the preseason power polls?
I don't think they're in.
They're number 28.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think they were in the top 25.
Yeah, I'm looking at because I love him and I respect his work. Kelly Ford's preseason ratings got NC State at number 28. You know, they're a team that's on the outside looking in perpetually year in and year out. NC State would certainly be a good example of that.
I think NC State, when you look at them in 2024, there's two hurdles. Right? They play in the ACC, so they have a shot of getting in now that the playoff is expanded. If they're consistent, if they're as good as we're told they could be. And I know we have some we hadn't got to in the ACC yet, but just starting with the ACC, Diesel, imagine if on September 7th, they were to go knock off Tennessee right here in Bank of America Stadium.
Hey,
all of a sudden, they've got one game left, Clemson, and you're getting in with one loss, right?
Hey, maybe we should rename the ACC from the Atlantic Coast Conference to the All Cupcakes Conference to the All Cinderellas Conference, because it feels like any team that comes out of the ACC and wins this thing is doing so by basically stretching their means, by going farther than what anyone expects anyone in that conference to do. Clemson has certainly done a fantastic job of that over the years. Florida State did a great job of it last year. But outside of those two, any ACC team comes out and looks really good. It's surprising. Now, it doesn't matter what you just do in the regular season. You have to go win a playoff game. You cannot be a Cinderella unless you go win
the
playoff game. So first of all, you have to do all this to get into the playoffs. Then you have to go win in the playoff. If you don't win anything in the playoff, you ain't a Cinderella. You can't be.
Correct. You're one and done. One a barbecue, to your point. However, could you see, let's say NC State Diesel in 2024, let's say they split with Clemson and Tennessee, which would be mighty impressive. If you split and you're NC State, you beat Clemson or you beat Tennessee, I think they'll take that every day of the week. Then you have teams like Louisiana Tech, Northern Illinois, Wake, Hughes, Cal, Stanford, Duke, Georgia Tech, and UNC. There's a possibility, because I think they're going to be better than North Carolina this year. There's a possibility that they're a two-loss team at the end of the season, North Carolina State is, and if they were to split, they could be a one-loss team. And I think NC State could very well be a Cinderella, to your point, if they go in a playoff game.
Okay, so what team, and I think I know your answer to this, but I'd love to know, what team would look better what win would look better on NC State's resume? Like, what would get the national media's attention more?
That's a good question.
Beating Tennessee or beating Clemson? They're 13 and 14 in the preseason power rankings.
Yeah.
So they're side by side.
It's fascinating that they play them both early, right? Because if they played Clemson late, Diesel, to answer your question, let's say Clemson had a terrible season, they beat Clemson, well, there wouldn't be oh wow, congratulations, you beat a 4-loss Clemson team. It wouldn't be looked at the same if they were to go knock off a 1 or 2-loss Tennessee team. Because they play them early, though, I think if they go to Memorial Stadium on September 21st and beat Clemson, that's a statement win. And listen, NC State's they've held their own with Clemson over the past 6 years.
But does it not make them more of a statement to go beat a team for which it just means more?
I know. No,
right?
I agree.
Beating
I'm torn.
Where does NC State play Tennessee? Do you know?
Charlotte.
They play them in Charlotte. So neutral site.
Duke's Mayo.
Yeah, neutral site game. I mean, I think you get more run, you get more national attention, you get more national respect. Because people still, even though Tennessee fell off a little bit last year, the Heupel train has maybe cooled off just a little.
Yeah.
If you're still beating an SEC team, right? That still, I think, probably grabs the national attention more than beating a conference foe. And I'm not saying that as a slight against Clemson, but I'm just saying they're a conference foe. You played them before, you beat them before. Like what? Do I remember like the walk-off field goal a couple of years ago? I mean, you got luck. It was a crazy finish. That is certainly a thing from which Cinderellas are made.
Sure.
But you know, when I'm looking at the preseason top 30, here's who jumps out at me as Cinderellas: Missouri, Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Arizona, SMU. I mean, SMU's got a wildly easy schedule this year. Outside of playing Florida State at home, they've got a super easy schedule. You could see in SMU, if they do something wild and they knock off Florida State, they just go on a run. And yeah, smart asses at water coolers who call into sports talk shows will say, well, they haven't played anybody. But the national media won't give a rip about that. They'll say, yeah, but they're 11-0, they're 12-0, whatever. They'll love them for it, right?
Yeah, no, they will. I think it's fascinating to look at teams, Diesel, like USF, South Florida, because don't you think somebody's going to reach the playoff from a group of five? Somebody.
Well, they have to, right? They have to. They get one representative.
Is it one? Is that
they get one?
So whoever it is, you look at a team like South Florida, who's a very good program. They have a really good quarterback in Byron Brown. And to your point, if one of them get in, their conference schedule, South Florida, not very tough. I would say a team like Memphis, maybe. However, Memphis plays Florida State, and that's obviously going to hurt.
Memphis number 50 right now in the preseason power rankings.
Sure.
South Florida number 76.
While you're looking at that, where is Kansas?
Kansas.
Because I think they could be a top 10 offense this year.
Kansas number 26.
Okay, how about that? How about Kansas? Cinderella.
This is a predictive ranking. This is not a resume ranking. Obviously, we don't have resumes at this point to look at.
But Kansas, I mean, I've heard this season from those pundits.
One of my favorite old school logos, by the way. Like, you look at that field at Kansas and you see that massive Jayhawk on the field.
I like their colors.
It looks incredible,
right?
Doesn't it look so good? I mean, it looks like Foghorn Leghorn's cooler cousin.
It does. They went 9-4 last year, Diesel. Top 10 offense. Jason Bean, Cole Ballard, incredible offense last year. Jalen Daniels now on that. Well, he was hurt last year. So, if Kansas could make a run, maybe they're a team that, depending on their schedule, maybe they could be that Cinderella.
And here's one that JD brought up in the chat earlier. He mentioned Virginia Tech. I mentioned that to Rob Brown earlier as well. I don't think that Virginia Tech is going to really challenge for the ACC championship this year. But
no, I don't either.
But they return 80% of their roster from last year. 13 senior starters on the team this year. Kyron Drones, supposed to be a dog. He played in 4 games last year, Cole, threw for over 2,000 yards. In 4 games.
Not bad.
Yeah, Grant Wells, he was a transfer from Marshall, I think. He played the first 2/3 of the season. Drones came in, led him 43 points a game in the last 4 weeks of the season. The dude was phenomenal in the back half of Virginia Tech's schedule. So look out.
And JD also says, I'll take Kansas quarterback Daniels, again, who I said was hurt last year, over Sanders any day in the Big 12. He's a really good quarterback. I'm not saying Kansas is going to go make a magnificent run in 2024, but they have a stud quarterback. The portal is the best thing that ever happened to a program like Kansas. And real quick, before we run, Texter Diesel says traditional easy ACC games will be difficult for SMU. Also, another texter says NC State has never played in the ACC championship. One of two teams.
Maybe, texter, but SMU is coming in with a loaded roster. Again, a lot of these guys are coming off of the ACC. They're AAC recruits, excuse me. but they are coming in with a loaded roster. Virginia Tech, here's going to be the problem with them.
Mhm.
They play at Miami Friday, September 27th, and then they go a long time before they play another ranked team, which is Clemson on November 9th. So they could strength of schedule is not going to be great, and people could forget about them in the meantime. When we come back, here's a sport that we've kind of forgotten about. We've all wanted to forget about the NFL and the Carolina Panthers, specifically within the NFL. What's going on with the Carolina Panthers? How about some preseason notes? That's next on the Fan Upstate. I am going to play the part of Steven Crowder. Remember the change my mind guy?
Yeah.
Everybody knows the meme. Guy sitting behind a table says, here's what I believe. Change my mind. Right. I am Steven Crowder. Preseason NFL sucks. It should go away. Change my mind.
Completely? Every game?
Well, maybe you can give them one because we don't learn anything from preseason games.
No, I think 2 games.
There's no reason to have any preseason games because the starters don't play, right? Like, and what are you learning? What are the coaches learning in a preseason game that they aren't already learning or that they can't learn in a joint practice with other teams, right? They have a pretty good idea of who they're going to keep on their roster for the season. And I've seen guys have great preseason games not make the team. I've seen guys who have crap preseason games still make the team. So honestly, what's the point? Especially, Cole, is we're staring down the very real possibility of an extension of the NFL season to 18 regular season games.
Which, by the way, I think would be the biggest mistake in the world to expand. I'll go against you there. I do think they're important. I think that 4's too many. I don't know that we need 3. I would say that 2 would be a little bit better. 2 to 3 is, I think we have 3 now. I do think that you have to get guys in real games to see how they're going to perform, because there are a lot of players who look really good at practice, who look really bad in the game. So I think I'm not for 4 preseason games because I think that's a little too much. But I do think preseason games are needed in terms of seeing what players look like in actual games. I don't love them either from the fan standpoint. However, from a personnel standpoint, player development, I think you got to have a few.
Well, I think the elimination of preseason games, whether you believe all of them should be eliminated or just a few of them should be eliminated, maybe what Roger Goodell has to do to convince the NFLPA to sign off on this and to get players to sign off on an increased regular season.
100%.
So you telling me that I now get to take 4 Sundays off? I don't have to go out there and suit up, whether I'm playing or not, right? They're all there. Most of them are suiting up. We see them suit up for the first preseason game, and then basically they're just going through the motions for the next 3, right? So this is a quote. Not a quote. This NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said earlier this year that he does favor going to an 18-game regular season. He said that he envisions a lengthened schedule that would culminate in a President's Day weekend built around the Super Bowl on Sunday night. So here's how greedy Roger Goodell is. They already own a third of the calendar year just with your regular season. And then they own more time for the draft and for all of the underwear Olympics, the combine, all that stuff. The NFL is top of mind all the time. Now they're trying to eat up holiday weekends.
So the initial thought, and when he said this on the Pat McAfee show a few months back, the initial thought of the Super Bowl being played before President's Day, I'm all for Diesel, especially if that means we get Monday off, right? Which you and I talked about this before. We get Monday off. We're all for it being on President's Day if that is the case. I think most of the world gets President's Day off. I'm not sure if you do.
Most of the world?
Well, I think
you mean America.
Most of America. Most of America. I think most of the world that we care.
Those people in South Sudan, like, hey, it's great to have the day off. It's because of it's American President's Day.
I think most people get President's Day off, but I do love the idea of the Super Bowl being on the Sunday night before that, because if you're going to have the Super Bowl late on a Sunday, there are a lot of people who would rather just say, hey, let's take that Monday off. I do not like the 18-game season, though. At the end of the day, as a fan of the sport, I want to see Diesel the best talent on the field late in the season. And when you add another game, we've already seen it in the years past, in recent years, you have guys injured. How many more games, how much more of this are we going to have to see when the stars aren't playing in the playoffs? That's what I don't like.
So do you think the players are going to be happy to continue playing later and later into the season to make fans happier? I mean, they say, oh, You know what? I'm more than happy to play one more game in the regular season so that fans from outside of my city, they don't have to go to work on Monday after the Super Bowl.
I don't think players would want to play an extra game at all. I don't think when they look at this and they talk about shortening it, I don't know. I don't know that 75% of them will want to do it.
We can look at anything logically how it might work out for us as fans.
Sure.
But all of this, remember, all of this is a negotiation. They say that this is the NFLPA representatives are saying that there are high-level conversations around expanding within the NFLPA. Like the way they describe this, it's like it's bullet point after bullet point after bullet point. Like it's not necessarily all that close, but it's not super far away either. Like there's so many layers of bureaucracy that this has to go to before it gets approved by everyone involved. But if Roger Goodell really wants it, how much power does the NFLPA really have? Because the NFLPA has caved over and over again, right? Like this, it wasn't that long ago. They only played 16 games. And then they added a 17th. And now they're looking at adding an 18th. What's going to stop them from adding a 19th or a 20th after that? The NFLPA, if the players really don't want this, it is up to them to nip it in the bud.
And I think they should.
Right now.
They should. Yeah. They absolutely should. And you're right. At the end of the day, Goodell's, most of the time, he's going to get what he wants.
What's the owners that want this? They want to make more money.
Yeah, I think everybody who's not playing wants it, right? But the players, in my opinion, need to step up here and say, look, enough's enough. We're going out here every single day, and we're getting paid millions of dollars, but we're risking literally your lives because we've seen that recently happen tragically. Injuries can happen. You're risking being healthy to go play another game for what? Big picture. Ultimately, what are we gaining from playing another game? I think they should cut a preseason game, have 2 preseason games, Diesel, and keep it where they are. Keep it at the schedule of 17 games now. There is no need, big picture, other than $1. There's no need to add another game. I say the more you add, the more it dilutes the regular season.
That's why I look at it and say if they really want to get this thing on, what they're going to have to do is cut preseason games. Because there's no way that you're going to get them, the NFLPA, to say, yeah, we'll do 4 preseason games and 18 games. I understand that they don't play very much. A lot of the stars don't play in the preseason games, but they still have to be there, right? It's still something that they have to do. So in a negotiation, you got to give something to get something. So if they really want this, they may say, hey, guess what? We're just going to eliminate the preseason altogether, and we'll jump straight in like we do in college football. Hey, in just a couple of minutes, I want to give you a chance to win 4 tickets to Carolina Panthers Fan Fest. That's happening August 1st in Clemson, commemorating 30 years of Carolina Panthers football. They're taking it back to Carolina. I'm going to give you a chance to win 4 tickets coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But I do want to turn things to a little bit of camp notes for the Carolina Panthers. Rookies reported to training camp on Friday. They're a couple of days into this. It feels like it's not even happening, right? Like training camp, damn it, it's supposed to be in Spartanburg.
It's supposed to
Remember all the buzz and all the hype that was going on around here? Now it's dead. It's dead. No one here cares about the Carolina Panthers.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Like at least we had a reason to get excited. Like hope springs eternal, right? Even when we thought the team might suck, at least we had training camp to go to, and hundreds of people would show up and watch the practices at Wofford every single day. We had the local media going up there and covering this thing. I'm not seeing anything, right? I'm not seeing YF4 News. I'm not seeing Fox Carolina going up to Rock Hill or wherever they're doing this thing. I don't even know. I don't even know where they're doing training camp this year.
I think it's in Charlotte.
Yeah.
It starts tomorrow? It starts 24th. Yeah. That's tomorrow.
Nobody's talking about it. But here are some notes for you. 2nd-round pick running back Jonathan Brooks was placed on the active PUP list.
That's good.
He is coming off of the ACL tear that he suffered last November. He can be activated at any time. So it's not like he's injured and can't go. They're just holding him out to give him a little extra time. They can take him off that PUP list at any time.
Quick note on Brooks.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that he's on that list. Listen, if Carolina wants to have a little secret weapon in 2024, and be able to have a Tony Pollard-like guy, a shifty guy that can create open space, you've got to have Jonathan Brooks stay healthy. So Diesel, if it takes another month, let it take another month. He's got to be healthy.
Yeah. Let's see. DJ Wanham, who's a linebacker, he's on the PUP list. Josh Neiman. Let's see. Amari Barno. That's a name that I at least recognize, right? And then rookie wide receiver Jalen Coker, all also placed on the PUP list. Those guys will not be participating here in the first couple of days of training camp. Dave Canales, he's also been spending a lot of time working with Bryce Young. The big focus for Bryce Young is shortening his release time. Obviously, with him taking 62 sacks last year, which is the 6th highest total in NFL history, they've got to find ways to get the ball out of Bryce Young's hand faster. They know they're not going to have some world-beating offensive line. They probably understand that Bryce Young's going to take a bunch of sacks again this year, but if they can get that number down from 62 to like 40 just by getting the ball out of Bryce Young's hand faster, then I think, you might save a guy's life. So they say ideally, Cole, they want to get his throwing time down to just 2.7 seconds. And obviously that changes everything, right? It gives the defense less time to think about it. It gives them less time to react. It saves him from having defensive edges come up the gut and get him.
Here's what I do think Panther fans, Diesel, need to understand about 2024. Will they win a ton more games? In my opinion, no. However, what you just said is basically Dave Canales, an offensive mind, understands what went wrong last year and what they can do better. I think if Dave Canales really gets the most out of this group and uses the running back group that he has, because if they're healthy, he has pretty good depth at the running back position now in Carolina with the addition of Brooks. If he can get those running backs involved in the passing game for Bryce Young, what you said, getting the ball out quicker, a lot more designed RPO type plays where he has an option to dump it quick to a back or whatever it may be, not let's just, shotgun formation. Let's hope Adam Thielen gets open in double coverage. It was enough of that last year. And I think that Dave Canales, eventually the wins will come, but I think that he understands the little things about making this offense more efficient. And then once you make it more efficient, obviously you'll see that turn into wins.
So here we go. This is your chance to score 4 tickets to Carolina Panthers Fan Fest. It's commemorating, again, the 30th season of Carolina Panthers football. They'll head back to Memorial Stadium at Clemson. I remember, Cole, I was a kid. I was at a Clemson game, and Jerry Richardson was sitting about 5 or 6 rows above us.
Really?
Little bitty me. Sat on Jerry Richardson's knee and got a photo with Jerry Richardson when I was tiny. Yeah. So the event is Thursday, August 1st. Gates open at 5:30. Practice starts at 6:30. They'll have open practice, team merch for sale, and a fireworks show after the event is done. If you want to go, all you have to do is text the word FAN PANTHERS to 71307. Again, FAN PANTHERS to 71307. We'll take a random texter. Random texter up to and through this upcoming commercial break. You'll get the tickets.
A random texter. How about that? And you know what? I hope there's energy, to your point, about giving away the tickets and there not being that buzz around training camp.
We had a bunch of people get into this thing yesterday. We had like 30 entries to try to win these tickets yesterday.
And I believe Saturday is the whatever they call it at Bank of America, where they open up the stadium and they have the back together Saturday. So they'll have a practice Saturday morning, Bank of America. That'll be cool. Well, hopefully Panthers fans will be able to get out and maybe do a little tailgating. And Dave Tepper may have a concert because, that's what he's big on. But, I'm trying my best this summer and leading up to September. I'm trying my best to be very positive thinking, Diesel, optimistic about the Carolina Panthers.
If you were Dave Tepper, Cole, would you be willing to make an appearance at Panthers Fan Fest, whether it be on the sideline or on a stage making a speech at this thing, without having some sort of protective bubble over you? Like, is he going to need a Pope mobile to be on that sideline? Could he get pegged in the back of the head with a beer can or with a tomato?
No, he does that. He throws the beer can.
That's right.
Get it right. I mean, he's the one that throws the beer at people, right? Because that's what all owners do.
No, I think he throws cocktails that's the leftover remnants of like a $200 scotch. What $200 watered down scotch? He throws that on people. In which case, I'm like, that's the most expensive thing that's ever been thrown on me.
That's true. That's true. Over 10 submissions already just in 1 minute. As Diesel said, you can type the word Fan Panthers to enter the contest. We'll continue that through the break. Daily Wires, we were going to get to it earlier, but we had Rob Brown, who's a better option than Daily Wires anyways. But we will get to the headlines. We call them Daily Wires next. You may call them headlines, but on Wire to Wire, we call them something different. Every single day, we update you on what's going on in the sports world. We try to be a little professional every now and then and actually give you a real sound effect, but we have the Daily Wires.
Bzz.
I like the combination there.
Tolos, you decide. Tolos, do you like the real electricity sound effect?
Or Diesel.
Or do you like the buzz? The diesel and coal buzz.
My bzz is not good. This is better than mine. Ooh, that kind of shocks you a little bit, don't it? Did that hurt? Maybe that's I don't know. It's pretty electric. All right, getting you up to date on what's going on in the sports world. I did see earlier that Clemson now has 3 Sweeneys on staff. Dabo has all of his, or both of his kids, in the same building as him now on the football program, or in the football program, rather. So Sweeney's everywhere at Clemson. Diesel.
3 more and you got a 6-pack of Sweeney's.
That's true. It is with deep regret and sorrow and sadness that I have to report today, and I'm going to even pull the electricity music down because it doesn't deserve music behind it. The Braves lost again last night.
Damn it.
And I don't have any melancholy music to play, the music they play on those animal adoption commercials, but, they lost again and they officially suck. They're done. Stick a fork in them. They're over. Cincinnati Reds 4-1 last night, so the Braves are the Braves.
Hang on, I've got a great song, Cole, that we can play for the Atlanta Braves. Would you mind
Yes.
queuing me up here? This is the Braves song. How about this?
Okay.
Hang on, I've got a little bit of an echo. Let me kill
Sounds
that.
like Stone Man's producing.
Yeah, let me kill that. Here we go. This is the song for the Atlanta Braves.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Your
2000
2024 Atlanta Braves.
They suck. And they're dead. And they suck.
Ozzy Albies out for 8 weeks.
I think they should put everybody
Spencer
on
Strider
the IR.
on IR for the season.
They should put the entire team on the IR. They're that bad. And you know what? I'm pulling it down. I hate talking about them. I'm just done with them, Diesel. They suck. I'm pissed, as you can tell.
Should I text Jake Mastriani and say, you know what? Can we extend this to bring you on once a month?
Jake, we'll talk to you in March.
First Friday of every month.
Jake, we appreciate you, man.
We love
But we'll talk to you again in spring training. Is that okay? Can you call us when the Braves start spring training in 2025? That's how bad it is right now. All right, getting back to the other Daily Wires, the positive ones, Diesel. The NFLPA Executive Director Lloyd Howell told the Washington Post that discussions have reached a high level over potentially adding an 18th regular season game. We just talked about that. Hope they do not. But you said it. It's all about money. The Jets, Hassan Reddick. He's skipping training camp over contract disputes. They need him if the Jets are going to be successful, and Aaron Rodgers is going to get his Aaron season back on track. He is in the final year of his contract, talking about Hassan Reddick, so that's an important one.
If defenses don't have to respect Hassan Reddick, they can tee off on Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
His Achilles is never going to recover.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think he's the youngest guy anymore either. Steve Kerr says there are no plans to remove Kevin Durant from Team USA while he recovers from a calf strain that I guess is never going to heal. The roster set to be finalized. I'm not saying they have to have him because I think you said it earlier last week. They should still be able to win without KD. However, KD's KD.
KD's soft.
But they need him, though.
KD's soft. I mean, you could replace him with a lot of different guys. I mean, what's to say this calf strain – he gets on the team and this calf strain doesn't rear its ugly head again? I mean,
well, it could.
I know it's a generational thing, and I know it's looking back on the past, probably with hindsight being 20/20 vision. But we look back and we think, man, these players used to play sick and hurt, and they used to go out there and kick ass anyway. Now these guys need their hand held when they're getting a cuticle pushback.
It must. I don't know. I don't know how bad it is. I just know that, in my opinion, I think they will need him. We'll see. I could be wrong, though. Bobby Witt Jr. fell a single short of hitting for the cycle last night against the Diamondbacks. Pretty impressive there. He would have been the first Royal in 34 years to hit for the cycle. And talking about the Royals, Kansas City, Hottest team right now since the All-Star break, 4 or 5 in a row. Don't love to see that. However, it's reality. And, they were in the World Series not long ago. It wasn't that long since they were in the World Series. Matthew Stafford has reported to Rams camp after a contract adjustment. No word on CeeDee Lamb yet, holding out in Dallas. Obviously, they need a contract agreement with him to come very soon, but that's interesting.
So here's the details on Stafford's situation. He was due a $31 million base salary this season on a 4-year, $160 million deal that he signed with the Rams in 2022. He has 3 years remaining on the contract. This season, though, was going to be his final season with a guaranteed salary. So something with the adjustment here either extended the number of years he would have a guaranteed salary or maybe bumped up his incentives a little bit this year to push that.
It's interesting with him because he is now getting up there in age. He's 36. And I just don't know if they're going to give a big contract diesel to someone after this one who's 36, then 37 years old.
I understand why you don't want to guarantee a 36 or 37-year-old $30 million. It's not smart business.
Yeah, it's true.
When we come back, Cole, it is that time. It is 5 o'clock. It is our opportunity to disagree on everything. The 5 o'clock fight will be next. I was going to pitch this segment and say, this is the one that you Tolos finally get to tell us who's wrong in a lot. But then again, I realized, well, you Tolos do that every segment. You always tell us when we're wrong. This is the segment where I get to tell Cole he's wrong, and Cole gets to tell me I'm wrong. It's called the 5 o'clock fight. It happens each and every day right here at, you guessed it, 5 o'clock. The rules are Cole and I must disagree on all three of these topics. You, the Tolos, decide who put forth the better argument on their side of the topic. It's called the 5 o'clock fight. Let's get it going.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Again, we'll have 3 different topics. Sometimes they're sports related. Sometimes they're not sports related. You, the Tolos, tell us who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight by texting in at 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. You could also message in on the stream on Facebook, on Twitter, or on YouTube. And yes, I am permanently calling it Twitter because Elon Musk has pissed me off by taking away our ability to live stream on Twitter unless you're verified. Good news is Cole Bryson is verified, and there's no rule against non-verified accounts retweeting the live stream. So we're on all this platform. You can't stop us, Elon. The internet wins again. So you text in, tell us who wins each round of the fight, but we can't have you do that until we put forth some arguments. So here we go. Round number 1. Is this, the 2024 season, a complete waste for the Atlanta Braves?
Oh, my gosh. I thought we were going to be positive the rest of the day. What happened to the
positivity? That's
positivity?
up to you if you want to be positive or not.
Well, guess what? I'm not. I'm not going to be positive. It's a waste. It's done. It's over. The Atlanta Braves season, as we know it, is a complete failure and a waste in 2024. You know, I tried to look at the positives of maybe some guys who have gotten some good playing time, maybe Jared Kelnick, in center field, whatever. I don't want to hear it. I'm so sick of this team not performing and just their lack of enthusiasm, uninspiring baseball. Brian Snitker, he's done a terrible job this year. I'm not in panic mode saying they should just fire everybody, but they still are a very talented roster. And even with it, I know they've had a ton of injuries, but even when they were semi-healthy, for the majority of the first part of the season, they couldn't hit the balls, and everybody said, "Oh, the baseball's being changed, and offense is down league-wide." Diesel, it's a waste of a season for Atlanta.
8.5 games back from the Phillies, 54-45. The Phillies have won 63 games this year. I mean, this is a season where you're looking up at the Phillies and saying, oh, man, we could have been them. I'm going to say it's not a waste, though, because the Phillies are just historically good this year. So if you were what we thought you could be, you might still be in the same position, right? You may still be a couple of games back from the Phillies. Do I think you have enough to challenge for the league, to challenge for the division? No. Do I think you have enough to even remotely have a chance at the wild card? No. But the Atlanta Braves are going to get a chance, Cole, to work in a lot of young prospects over the next couple of weeks. Clearly, they got to do something in the bullpen, right? They can pretty much wipe the bullpen out that they've got, start fresh with a whole new crop of guys, see who sticks, right? So now they have the opportunity to do that. They probably won't, right? Because they'll do the smart thing and they'll rotate in one guy at a time. They're not going to go whole hog. Like fans, it's easy to say these type of things, but we're not risking a multi-million-dollar contract by making drastic moves like that. So I think the Braves now get an opportunity to sort of test the waters with a lot of young guys inside their organization. Maybe Alex Anthopoulos can make a move before the deadline. Maybe he can't. But I do think you're going to learn a lot about yourselves as a franchise. And at the very least, Cole, this could be the season that is the catalyst that makes the Braves change how they're built and why they're built the way that they're built. They're built to hit home run balls. It's not working, right? So
it's not.
So it could be the catalyst that forces change to make you play a little bit of smaller baseball.
Brian Snitker, change? Are you kidding me? Come on. I'm so sick of it, as you can tell.
Next up.
Round 2,
So I'm actually going to give you 3 options
Whoa!
on this round 2 of the
3
5
options?
o'clock fight. You Tolos tell us who wins this round of the fight. Cole, are you a buy a concert t-shirt inside the venue guy? Buy the bootleg t-shirt outside of the venue guy, which is a lot cheaper, or not buy a t-shirt at all guy?
You know what? I usually buy inside because I want the authentic. I want the t-shirt that's actually made of material that's gonna
Cotton.
last. After I throw it in the dryer one time, it doesn't shrink up. I don't have a problem with, as long as it's not outrageously expensive. I'm a buy inside the venue kind of guy. Last time I did this though, you know what I did? You're gonna make fun of me. I bought a t-shirt at the Dallas Mavericks game. Nice Nike shirt, right? Not dry fit, but the real comfortable ones. Dallas Mavericks, really nice. Probably $50. I don't know how much it was. Put it under my seat at the game with some friends when I lived in there in Texas. Put it under my seat. Walked out.
Oh, no.
Left it.
No.
Yeah, I was so mad. I'm still mad about it.
No.
2 years later. So I'm not good at it, Diesel, but you got to buy it inside.
Well, you're wrong. I don't buy concert t-shirts at all. Number one, the t-shirts inside are way overpriced. Like you go to a concert nowadays, t-shirts are $70, $75. They're crazy high. So first of all, I'm not blowing my beer budget on a t-shirt. Not going to happen. I'm not buying the bootleg t-shirt outside because you said it. They're made of crap material. They're uncomfortable. Very often there's spelling errors all over it. like my wife bought a bootleg t-shirt at Iron Maiden once. And the back of the t-shirt, when you look at the list of the cities, there's spelling errors.
They didn't get the
all
names
over
of the
it.
cities
They
right?
got the names of the cities wrong. All over this thing, there were spelling errors. So I don't buy them from those dudes. I don't buy one at all because if I want to wear a band t-shirt, I'm going to spend the money and get a good band t-shirt. I'm going to get the design that I want, not just, hey, impulse buy, drop $75 on it. So I don't buy concert t-shirts at all.
Yeah.
I hate the ones that have the list of the cities on the back. Nobody gives a rip what other cities the show went to, the tour that you went to. That sucks. Nobody's going to go.
I am an impulse buyer. That's one of my bad qualities, I guess.
Well, you don't have many of those because Cole Bryson, damn near perfect.
Yeah. Said no one ever.
There you go. That's 2 rounds of the 5 o'clock fight. If you're on the fence, we'll give you one more.
Final round. Fight.
Justin Fields. Wait, did you
What did I do?
you put Justin Fields Rookie of the Year candidate?
Justin Fields. You know why I did that? Because
I think you mean Caleb Williams?
I did. I put Justin Fields.
Well, now we know. Here's one more example of Cole Bryson not being perfect.
Yes, it happened again. You know what? I was thinking Chicago, and I wrote it down.
I
Justin
am
Fields.
not Ron Burgundy. I will not read anything you put in front of me on the teleprompter.
I almost had you there, but when I heard that pause, I thought, oh, crap. Did I write
What did I
Justin
do?
Fields?
Caleb Williams.
Let's try that again. Yeah.
Rookie of the Year candidate or no?
I think he is. I think he 100% is. I think Caleb Williams, with added talent in Chicago, not Justin Fields, I think Caleb Williams is a phenomenal talent that's going to shine this year. I think he's going to elevate this team, and you're going to see that the Chicago organization's heading in the right way. I think he balls out. Caleb Williams, Rookie of the Year, 2024. I can see it.
You mean if he doesn't quit, go home, cuddle with his dog, and watch Netflix instead of showing up to practices? No, Caleb Williams don't have the mental makeup, my friend, to be a Rookie of the Year. Caleb Williams is Cam Newton late in his career 2.0. You know, the go put a towel over his head, cry in the corner. That's what Caleb Williams is going to be. I don't have any faith whatsoever on a team that has still a whole lot of deficiencies around him. I understand the Bears have gotten better, but they still got a whole lot of problems around him. I'm not going to go so far because I don't want to taint anyone's opinion of my take on this and name who I think will be the Rookie of the Year. But it ain't going to be Caleb Williams. Okay?
Xavier Legette, a receiver you have as rookie? I've never known a Rookie of the Year to be a receiver. I'm just kidding. I don't know that Diesel. I don't even know who Diesel's candidate is.
To recap our 5 o'clock fight, is this the waste of a season for the Atlanta Braves? Cole says, yep, it's over. Pack it in. They're done. I said, well, no, it's not a waste because at least you could still learn something about yourself and maybe be the catalyst to change your makeup. Round 2, are you a buy a concert t-shirt inside guy and spend a lot of money, buy a bootleg t-shirt outside guy, save some money but probably get a piece of crap, or buy nothing at all? Cole says he buys the shirts inside. I don't buy one at all. And round 3, Caleb Williams, Rookie of the Year candidate or no? Cole's feeling good about the new rookie quarterback in Chicago. Me, I'm not high on him. See, and I appreciate you not making me argue for Caleb Williams because I have poo-pooed on Caleb Williams all year. Even before the draft, I poo-pooed on Caleb Williams. So there you go. That's a recap of our 5 o'clock fight takes and arguments. What say you? Who wins each round? We'll tell you how you can vote right after we tell you how you can give us your ideas for the 5 o'clock fight.
What do you want Diesel and Cole Bryson to fight about next?
If you've got an ass, I'll kick it.
Submit your topics to diesel@thefanupstate.com. Subject line, fight on the Fan Upstate.
If you are an OG Tolo who listens to our show every single day, first of all, thank you very much. You already know how to get your votes in, but if you are not, if you are just discovering Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, here's how you can get in your votes for the 5 o'clock fight. You can email us. Well, no, you can't email us.
I'm just reading the text.
You can text us 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Best way to do it is to send us blank wins round 1, blank wins round 2, blank wins round 3.
Now that you
put
said
it all
that,
together,
somebody's going to send blank wins round.
of course, smart asses all over the place.
You know that's going to happen.
Yeah. Or you can message us on the stream. If you're watching live on Facebook, on Twitter, or on YouTube, you can give us who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight that way as well. We give you a couple of seconds to start getting your votes in. Some of you not super fast on the typing with the old thumbs there.
Look at the
so
flip
we'll give
phones.
you a second.
Yeah, the flip phones. You have to turn.
Man.
No lie.
Could you imagine? I'm just trying to think. What would it look like to type out like Diesel round 1 using T9 texting?
That's what I'm saying. It'd be a lot of
3 4 4 4 3 3 7 7 7 7. This is belabored, okay? But if you're over the age of 35, you understand T9.
I was at a high school coaches clinic Sunday, and I'm not going to say who because I don't want to put them on blast. But Diesel, somebody I was talking to, still uses a flip phone.
I would 100% use a flip phone if I could.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I was like, Coach, it might be time to upgrade the flip phone. No.
I would love to go back to a flip phone.
Can you believe that?
Did you ever have a flip phone? Do you remember that?
The Razor, baby.
See, that's okay. That is a flip phone, but that was like,
I had the
God tier Razor flip phone.
Okay, what was the bulky one before that? VG or
you're thinking of just the Nokia, the old school Nokia, the one that you could drop off a building and not damage.
Maybe so.
God, that was such a sweet phone.
I had the
play Snake on there all day.
That big silver bulky flip phone with the big antenna. That's the one that I think I first had.
And that sounds like all of them.
Well, that's true. Well, then the Razor, when the Razor came out, man, it was like
the Razor was great.
Oh my gosh, if you had a Razor,
the Razor 1, I'm gonna be real. And if y'all are about 40 years old, you know this. The Razor 1 was a sexy looking phone.
It was
compared to all the bricks and the crap that we had before that. The Razor 1 was such a sweet looking phone.
You know what I thought was the ish? I thought the BlackBerry was the ish.
Really?
Oh man,
really?
You couldn't talk me off of
as hell.
No, you couldn't talk me off of a twin tower. I loved. They had
like a little scrolly wheel on the side, and they had the keyboard underneath. The blue one, right? The original, the OG blue BlackBerry.
I was just high on life.
Made out of the same plastic that our calculators
the highest building
were made out of.
It was great. And then I'll tell you this is bad, not to go on a rabbit trail. BlackBerries, if you had them, what was that game that everybody? It was built onto the BlackBerry, and it was like the bricks where you crushed the bricks. One of the Tolos will tell me because I'm sure they remember, but literally it came on the phone, and like that was it, man. You made it in life.
God, I miss like the cool factor of getting a new phone and having to learn the new phone.
Now there's none of that. It's
exactly the same. Everything ports right over. Nothing changes. Like there's really no new features. The camera gets a little bit better, but that's not like That's not exciting. They've commoditized phones to the point where they're all basically the same.
And when you have the best of the best already, in my opinion, which is an iPhone, right?
Oh, now you're starting a new war.
I know. Let me quit. Billy Bob says, if Caleb Williams doesn't have a good year, Cole with a K, I don't know who that is, should have to paint his nails like Caleb does.
How do you know he doesn't already?
Yeah. Dexter, look at that. Kidding. No, that's a fun. Kole says the text. All right, what the stream? Anybody on the stream, Diesel?
Yeah. We got a lot of messages coming in. They're kind of all over the place, but I do want to get to all of these because we do read all of the texts. Let's see here.
Unless it's Shane Barrett saying a bad word.
Let's see. Nolan Ryan says, I have a t-shirt I bought from outside USC versus Notre Dame that says, I don't know. Can I read this? Yeah, I can read this because it's in reference to a football team. Okay. Don't come after me, FCC. Cox versus Catholics.
Oh, yeah, you can say that.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
That's funny, though.
He said it was bootleg AF.
But that's a great bootleg.
It is good.
That is so good.
It is good.
We need that to hang. Listen, if we could have one of those to hang in the studio, oh, my gosh.
Madcraft says, you're the fourth best team in the NL, Cole. LOL. What are we going to call every team that doesn't win the World Series this year? Failures?
Losers. Yeah, that's what they are. Losers. They're losers. They lost.
Says, I get they aren't playing to your standard, but failure is a crazy take.
Upset him, I
let's
guess.
see here. Madcraft says, Diesel wins round 1. Diesel wins round 2. Diesel wins round 3. He's clearly mad at you, and he's taking it out on you. And I appreciate it. At least he's honest. He says, Cole upset me. Let's see. April Mosley. What's up, April? Thanks for jumping in on the stream today. Diesel wins round 1. Diesel wins round 2. Diesel wins round 3.
Thanks, April.
Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate that sweep.
Nolan says Blackberry Bold was legit.
It
felt
really was.
like a badass.
It did, man. Those were great.
Nolan, we need your votes. Can you give us all your votes in one place? It's kind of broken up all over the place. Can you give us round 1, 2, and 3 votes, please?
Texter 491 Diesel didn't like your attitude. He said, just for that arrogant attitude, Cole wins clean sweep, doesn't even have to listen to the fight.
Arrogant attitude about what?
What did you have? What were you talking about?
About concert t-shirts?
I can't remember. It was
or about
16
Caleb.
minutes ago. So
Jeez.
That was a long time
ago. Are
you
serious? Wow. Arrogant attitude about what? Concert t-shirts?
I don't remember what it was.
It's arrogant to not spend $75 on a t-shirt outside.
No,
and it's arrogant to not want to drop like $30 on.
I don't know.
We had 5 o'clock. We had Daily Wires before that.
I don't know.
And then we had a Panthers giveaway. What are you talking about, Texter?
Eric says, don't forget, Cole, they need to get rid of Uncle Charlie 100%. He's got to go.
Nolan says, I will not vote.
Oh,
Thanks,
wow.
Nolan.
Thanks, Nolan.
But if you were to vote, Nolan, if you were to vote, I know you're not going to, but if you were to vote, which way would you go?
If you were. Hypothetically.
Yeah. Purely hypothetically.
491 says, Cole wins all 3. You're my boy, Cole. Well, I appreciate that. I'll send your check. I'll put it in the mail tomorrow. 468 says, round 1, Cole. Round 2, Diesel. Round 3 for the win. Hesitation, ... Diesel.
Yeah.
Alan B.
Woo.
Come on. Can you believe that?
I was legitimately excited to find out where Alan was going to go with that.
Another Alan. This one, Alan Sherbert. Diesel, clean sweep. Are you kidding me? Allens are in favor of you today. Corn Chip says Cole wins the first 2 rounds. I don't know who Caleb Williams is, so I can't vote. Tell me you don't watch the NFL without telling me. G says Diesel wins it all. Oh, my gosh. Cat and Greer. What is the deal today? Cat and Greer, Diesel clean sweep. Texter from the 228 says Nextel Chirp was the best. What was that?
Yeah, so it was
Nextel
it was a phone that had like a walkie-talkie function in it.
I'm looking at
it. And you could send a chirp and it would like basically alert them that someone is trying to walkie-talkie with you.
Oh, I see that now.
That was sweet.
Oh my God, look how old that looks so old.
Is it yellow?
There's a yellow one.
Yeah.
It looks like a walkie-talkie. That's exactly what it is. That's unbelievable. Let's see. 491 says, I'd say anyone over 28 would know T9 texting. I'm 31, and my first phone was a brick, then a Razor. I know T9 like the back of my hand. That's a good question. So I'm 28.
You can do it without looking, I'll bet.
I think couldn't you? Couldn't you used to text?
Well, yeah,
on
on an OG phone, like you couldn't do it on a modern smartphone because there's no. I mean, you could even know like what was it? The number in the middle, which would have been 5. 5 had like the little dot, a little raised dot on it, so you could tell where your thumb was.
I'm going to text you right now. I'm going to send a text without looking, and I'm going to send it on an iPhone. I have I think 13.
Well, the problem is, Cole, if you get something wrong here, it's gonna autocorrect, right?
I'm doing it right now as we speak. All right, now you read it. I did it without looking.
Hey, Diesel, I really love you, and aldehyde, you allowing me to text you today. I win all rounds.
So I got one word wrong.
Aldehyde.
That was not supposed to be.
What was aldehyde supposed to mean?
I think I was trying to say I appreciate you allowing me to text you today. Aldehyde.
Aldehyde. Yes,
so
nailed it.
So that's pretty good, though. I can send a pretty short text without looking on the iPhone. All right, Eric says, Cole round 1, Diesel 2 and 3, Bears suck. Oh, man. I'm just getting blown away. CJ from Greer, Diesel sweeps today. This is tough. FC Texter says, FCC. Let me click on the text so I can see the rest of it from the 803. Talking about – okay, I can't read that. The Cox and the Catholic shirt. Going back to that. Yeah.
Texter, do you still have it? I mean, honestly, we would love to display it in the studio.
We'll pay you $1.
Well, yeah.
828 says, blank wins round 1. I told you. Go wins 2.
We got this guy, not
3.
sure.
Oh, that's great. That's a great shirt. Catholics of Notre Dame versus the Cox of South Carolina. That's got to be more. I bet there's more of those shirts out there than you think.
Catholics versus convicts.
Yeah, you hear that one a lot, right?
You get that one all the time, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, we appreciate that. I don't appreciate you guys today. Y'all voted Diesel, but Diesel probably does.
And then the texter's mad at me for saying that this is the segment where I get to tell Cole he's wrong all the time.
Oh, gosh.
That's what he said my arrogant attitude was from that.
Dang, that's tough. Will Vandervoort joined us yesterday, and I want to revisit that conversation for you today. It was early in the show yesterday, and I want to go back to what Will had to say. And, there were a lot of interesting things from ACC Media Days with DJU not being there. Mike Norvell and Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider did a great job of going deeper into that. We'll talk to Will next.
your court. Sound off now at 844-FAN phone.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Yesterday, we had the opportunity to talk to Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider early in the show as we were at ACC Media Days. Diesel will be back there tomorrow. I will be right here in the Ingles Market Studios tomorrow. Somebody has to run the board. I appreciate Stoneman doing that for us yesterday. Here is the conversation, which is a very intriguing conversation. That's why I wanted to have it again for you today. A very intriguing conversation from yesterday about Mike Norvell, Will Vandervoort. Would you say there was an overall theme, overarching theme from what you heard from Jim Phillips today?
Yeah, he's mad at Clemson and Florida State. That was the overarching theme I got. He's pretty, I've been one to say, like, I wish Jim Phillips would come out and be a little more emotional, the last couple of years. I've said that. I just thought he kind of seemed like the guy kind of getting picked on at the and he's at recess, and he's the guy that Greg Sankey goes over and starts hitting and picking on, starts saying rude comments about. That's kind of what he's been like the last couple of years, and that's how I kind of taken it, But then today he came out, man, and he was like, a little heated. Talked about how Clemson and Florida State, he basically doesn't appreciate what they're doing, that they're a distraction to the league, and it's not good. And so I was like, whoa, So I followed up and asked him, several people followed up and asked him, but I followed up and asked him about, hey, what's that relationship like?
Yeah.
With Clemson and Florida State right now? You got to work with these guys. You just coming out here with some pretty strong words, and then you working with these guys. So, tell me what's up. And he's like, his answer was, I like those guys. We got a job to do. I'm going to be professional. They're going to be professional. At the end of the day, the lawsuit's separate from who we are as people. Kind of towed the line there a little bit. But, I had to ask it because I'm like, dude, it's like, first of all, I don't know if y'all were at the NCAA basketball tournament in Memphis, but when Jim Phillips was there and Graham Neff was there, you want to see the most awkward, uncomfortable moment.
Yes.
This is right after Clemson sued them. And it was very awkward, very uncomfortable. They didn't say anything to each other. They had them sitting beside each other. I'm like, really, people? You got these two guys sitting next to each other? Are you crazy? Maybe they wanted to see a cage fight. I don't know. But I don't know what the relationship is. I just know what I saw with my own eyes. It didn't seem like everybody's, happy and sunshine.
Well, maybe this can end up being, was it called The Breakup, the movie where they Jennifer Aniston and
You know me, I'm not.
It was a
Vaughn?
breakup movie. Yeah, Vince Vaughn, where they were separated for a while, and by the end they came back together. Do you think there's anything that can be done at this point to maybe cool things off, or if you want to look at it this way, warm up their hearts a little bit and get these guys back on the same page?
I don't think so.
No,
I think it's over. I think Florida State is more of a nastier divorce than Clemson's is. I think Clemson, because it's one of the founding members of the ACC and has the history where basically Clemson and Maryland started the conference, and I think Clemson has done it the right way to where, yeah, there's some things that have been said and people are upset, but there's not that nasty bitterness, anger, which you mentioned in the movie, what it was like with those two.
Yeah.
And I think Clemson and them are like, they're more of that cordial breakup where it's like, we kind of outgrown each other. It's just time to move on. And I think that's kind of where Clemson and the ACC are at, where Florida State, I think, is a little more bitter and nasty from everything I've gathered, especially talking with other people and hearing things from other league members and stuff. I think that's a little more nastier divorce than what Clemson and ACC is, even though divorce is divorce, right? It's never pretty.
Yeah.
So, but with that said, I just can't see, that now that Clemson and Florida State have taken it this far, that I don't think there's any going back.
I know there's a lot of money involved in this, and I'm sure that's the answer, asking people to stick to the contracts that they've signed. But, I mean, is there really a point, or does anybody come out ahead of this thing if they drag this ugly divorce out for potentially another 12 years? Mm-hmm. If we get to that, if we deal with 12 more years of this negativity, I mean, nobody's winning in that scenario, right?
Right.
I mean,
do you think that that's what pushes us towards a more amicable solution and like a settlement to get this thing to money terms where everybody can be happy? Or why wouldn't they just go ahead and say, all right, neither of us are happy, just go?
Well, there's a reason for that. So to answer your question, I don't think it's going to go 12 years, but it's not going to go anytime soon. Okay, so nothing in the immediate future is going to happen. Because, first of all, if you're the ACC, you don't want it to.
Sure.
Because right now things are uncomfortable, and things are your foundation is kind of shifting a little bit. And if you go and settle, if you're the Atlantic Coast Conference right now, then you open the door for others to come right behind Clemson and Florida State and say, hey, you let them out for X number of dollars, why not us? We'll go ahead and do it too, So they got to be careful as a league that they don't do something of that nature. So I think that they're ready to let it go to court, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to go to court, but I think they're at a place where they're like, okay, we're going to keep this in court. And we're going to tie this up in red tape and all this, legal jargon that I have to go through that bores my life that I didn't get into as a sports writer. I think they're going to kind of stay with that approach. And I think Clemson and Florida State kind of are like hoping they can push them enough to get them to do something. But right now, I just think both are at a standstill, and I just don't think any point right now in the immediate future anything's going to happen. And that means all these rumors that Clemson's going to go here, that's out the window because Clemson ain't going nowhere until this is resolved.
Sure.
And they got to get the invite, and nobody's going to invite Clemson with this hanging over Clemson.
We're talking to Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. Speaking of bitter, we've been told some rumors this morning about Mike Norvell. We know that a month or so ago we saw where DJ was not making the trip. You as a guy who's on the Clemson beat every single day, do you find it frustrating that you don't get that closure, I guess, but with DJU and Oregon State now not wanting to come? And even you told a story that you can tell on air now if you want to about you asking a question earlier and Mike Norvell kind of being a little bitter about it.
Yeah, I talked to him in Amelia Island during ACC spring meetings, and I asked him about DJ there, and he talked about how DJ was his words basically was was a little more mature than he was during his time at Clemson, and I kind of phrased my question that way. I said, hey, you said DJ was a little more mature. Could you elaborate on what you mean? And he's like, no, I didn't say. I don't know what he was like at Clemson. I didn't coach him at Clemson. That's why I know, but I'm just saying what you said.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, like, what is it that's making his more mature? And he answered it, but that's how he came back at me initially, which wasn't rude or anything. I don't want people to get the wrong idea, but he kind of questioned my question, and I came back, tried to clarify it as much as I could. And, but yeah, I mean, it's obvious he doesn't want to answer too many DJ questions. I mean, it wasn't just me. Several other people were asking about him too, other than he'll talk about the ball questions, but he doesn't want to talk about DJ and Clemson in particular.
Yeah.
That he kind of wants to, I don't know, maybe act like brush it under the rug, like it didn't happen. I don't know. I just get the feeling he didn't really want to mess with that.
A lot of Clemson fans probably feel like Cade Klubnik needed a little more time to mature as well. Not as a person, but as a football player after the 2023 season he had. Now, you're on the Clemson beat every day. What can you tell us about the way he's matured? Is he the Cade Klubnik we saw in the ACC championship game? Is he the Cade Klubnik we saw throughout 2023, or do you think we're going to meet in the middle somewhere?
Yeah, I hope you meet in the middle somewhere, right? I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. He's saying all the right things when he talks to us, and we hear from the coaches, he's doing the right things. He's gone back and evaluated himself, and he's gone back and taken notes of all the bad plays he made, which we all know is a lot.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out, okay, what he did here. He sat down, I know, with Garrett Riley, and they broke down those plays. Okay, what were you thinking here? Why were you thinking this? Just different things like the play against Florida State. It's 3rd and 1. He went rogue. Miami, you got 4th and goal at the 1 yard line. The coaches call a dive. The dive's there. Why in the world are you reading the linebacker? That linebacker's only job is to read you. He wasn't doing anything else, which that's why the dive was going to work, because he was going to read Cade. And even in times it worked, the Wake Forest play, he did the same thing against Wake Forest, and it worked. But the coaches don't want him doing that.
Yeah.
And see, these are things that they're trying to work with him. But at the same time, they also want the fourth quarter Cade Klubnik against Kentucky, where they took the handcuffs off, and he went out there and did his best impression of Johnny Manziel and led Clemson back to a comeback win, especially on that last drive where he went 8 for 8 for 71 yards on that last drive and leading Clemson to the victory. So, you know, if you're the coaches, if you're Dabo and you're Garrett Riley, you're sitting there like, okay, we got to figure out how we use this guy. And I think Dabo alluded to it a little bit. If you heard his conversation the other day when he talked to us, he mentioned that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And how that was a moment where they kind of learned something about Cade, and Cade learned something about himself as well. And I think that fourth quarter is what they're going to play off of, and I think that's the Cade Klubnik you might see. Now, that's saying a lot, guys. You know, that's saying a lot because we don't know till he gets up in Atlanta and he sees that ferocious front four of the Georgia Bulldogs, or front three, I should say, of the Georgia Bulldogs. They play an odd man front. You know, what's he going to do with those big boys? Because those are men. Those are grown men on that defensive line for Georgia.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I was going with you. My last question for you. When you look at the Georgia game, obviously Clemson fans, I believe, are realistic in the way that they know Georgia's on a different level. And I don't know that there are many Clemson fans that just with a real sense of, walking into that game and taking care of business. I don't know that Clemson fans should expect to do that. However,
this isn't Clemson 2018.
Right. And that's my point. I guess the flip side of that is what's interesting when I think about that game and the outcome, where do you think Clemson, let's say they do lose, where do you think they need to be in terms of points in order for Clemson fans not to, number one, be on, freak out mode, and obviously, number two, for them to still be respected on it from a national perspective?
I can't speak for a national perspective.
Sure.
I don't. It seems like national guys have their own narrative on what they want to say about Clemson. But I'll say this from talking with Clemson fans. I think Clemson fans would be not satisfied because they don't want to lose.
Yeah.
But I think they would feel a little better if they lose by like 10 points or so. If they're in the game, they're competitive.
Fourth quarter game.
It's a fourth quarter game. They're a possession down. Georgia's in control, but Clemson's right there. Sort of like you saw a couple years ago in Charlotte, where Georgia was in control of that game, but Clemson was there the whole time, still had a chance to win the game at the end. And that's really all you want. And I think if you're a Clemson fan, that's probably what you want. It's just that they have a chance to win the game, not necessarily going to win. I'm with you. I think most Clemson fans that are knowledgeable, and most Clemson fans are probably, not feeling like this is going to be a win for them coming out of that game on August 31st.
Sure.
Now, I know Dabo and his team are.
Yeah.
And Dabo's playing that up. He's like, hey, nobody believes in you but me, you, and all the guys in this locker room. Dabo's going to play that card all day, but the fans, they probably know better because we've all watched Georgia. We saw what Georgia did to Florida State. I was laughing, nothing against the Florida State kids, but he says, first
Bryson on, man, the weather's getting kind of
Yeah, it
nasty
got
out
dark,
there
didn't
on
it?
a dark Tuesday. I was just outside, Colin. The temperature has felt like it dropped every bit of 10 degrees.
It was a nice sunny day, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it looks nasty out there.
If you're planning on going to Creed later, as I know Rob
Ooh,
Brown is,
forget
you
about that.
may be in store
Oh.
for some nasty weather.
Is that in Simpsonville?
Simpsonville, CCNB Amphitheater.
Wow.
Cole Bryson DeChambeau, who is a very, very good golfer, has announced that he is creating a new YouTube video with Donald J. Trump. The video is already filmed at this point. He's just promoting the fact that he's filmed the video and he's going to be releasing the video in the near future,
Sure.
on his channel.
I saw a I'm a
Yeah.
big TikTok guy, and saw some footage on TikTok this morning, actually,
So,
of this.
So if anybody's unfamiliar of just how good Bryson DeChambeau is, he's a two-time major winner, world number 9 in the world number 9 golfer right now. Donald Trump, obviously former president, Republican nominee, and as far as a lot of people say, an avid cheater at golf. Cheats a lot. So the question is, in this video, will Donald Trump cheat at golf? Will he take extra mulligans, or will we get a real sense of the golfer that he is? Because remember, they brought that up multiple times throughout the debate. Donald's like, I'll play Joe in a round of golf, and Joe's like, well, my handicap's way lower than yours. It's like these are two old ass dudes out there. Like Donald Trump claims that he is a 2.8 handicap, which is very, very, very good.
I was gonna say, I'm not the the golf enthusiast.
Yeah,
but
that's very
seems
good.
pretty good.
I am a low 20s handicap. I am not very good, but a 2.8 is ridiculously good at golf.
Are they just playing head to head?
So we don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
We don't know what their thing is going to be.
I'll tell you what I was fascinated by real quick on that. There was a video clip. Trump asked Bryson. He said, "How often do you have to replace your drivers?" Because Bryson just smacks the crap out of
every time I push him out of the golf cart.
I think Bryson told him, he said, "Look, it's obviously a lot more than a normal golfer," but he said usually every 2 months.
I'll say, for somebody who is a registered independent, as I am, and I don't want to get into this as far as politics too deep, I think it's a great thing that he's doing this show, that he's doing this YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Because as somebody as myself who is, again, registered independent, I think it could very much humanize Donald Trump for a lot of people who may see him as potentially a dangerous candidate. I'm fascinating. I'm really interested in watching this.
I want to see. I don't know. In the YouTube video, I don't know how much they'll actually show of, the full round if they're playing 18 or whatever.
Will they show a full swing from Donald Trump?
I want to see his swing's wacky, by the way.
It is.
I want to see how, if they played 18, just if Trump could even hold his own.
Straight up. So one of my favorite YouTubers, his name is Rick Shields, golf YouTubers. He does this thing where he is a former amateur. He's tried to make the Open Championship as an amateur golfer.
Yeah.
He played competitively, but never as a high level pro. But he'll play high level pros, and he will get 10 strokes. And it's like, can these pros, like Ricky Fowler, that type of pros, can they come back and beat him at a 10-stroke disadvantage? And almost every time they do.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
nuts. I feels like these pro golfers, they find another gear.
Yeah, probably.
when they know they're down, especially to somebody they know they should beat. I mean, coming back from 10 strokes down, not easy. And you're trying to do it against a guy who is a solid enough golfer. Rick Shields, I think, normally shoots in the high 70s, low 80s, and this is not the way I play golf. When I go out there and I say, I shot an 85.
Yeah.
It's because I shot 3 or 4 of them off into the woods, not on the same hole and the same shot, but over the course of a round. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not trying to get a tour card here. I'm going to drop another one and just play it.
Yeah.
and then I'll count that as the first shot, not as the second
But
shot.
does it not blow your mind as someone who plays golf? Does it not blow your mind how often, just thinking a 5-year span, how many drivers Bryson DeChambeau goes through?
Oh, yeah. He's probably didn't the hell out of it.
And he was talking about the curvature with Trump, and he showed him. He said eventually it just flattens. It's wild because he's, I don't think I'm not a golf guy. I don't think you're supposed to hit the ball like Bryson DeChambeau does. I mean, he just tortures it.
So text in 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Do you think Donald Trump's going to cheat? Like, do you think we're going to get anywhere close to an accurate representation of how Donald Trump played on that day of golf?
If it's on video, maybe.
You could you could cheat anything with video, right?
Just not show it?
Yeah, just not show it.
203 says they obviously aren't going to play straight up. Well, how else would they play? I mean, what are they going to give him like you said, a 10 stroke? I don't know. Is he going to have Bryson going to have a big advantage? And maybe they see if,
I think it's probably just going to be them out there just having a conversation.
I'm sorry, I'd say that backwards. Is Bryson going to give Trump a 10-shot lead, whatever, and see if he can come back? How
many strokes do you think Bryson would have to give Donald Trump to have Donald Trump have a chance to beat him straight up? 20
on 18 holes.
18 holes. I mean, Trump's in his 70s, right? I mean, most golfers.
I'd say 15 to 20.
If you're a good golfer in your 70s, they always say a good golfer shoots his age.
Really?
So if you're how old is Donald Trump?
73, maybe.
He's 78.
Oh my gosh, I was way off.
Donald is out there shooting a 78.
God, I was way off.
At 78 years old. Bryson DeChambeau is going to have to go out there and shoot in the 60s.
Which is, I mean, that's tough, right?
Just with a 10-stroke lead.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's fascinating, though.
I'm going to be wildly entertained by this.
Yeah, I will too. No doubt about it. All right. We will have, I just got an email. Let me make sure he hadn't canceled. Nope, he's still on. Gary Stoken, Peach Bowl Incorporated, CEO, president, joining us next. hour of the program. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. We are going to talk a little Peach Bowl. That's right. Gary Stokan, CEO and president of Peach Bowl Incorporated. By the way, he's held that position since 1998, and the Peach Bowl has been terrific under Gary Stokan. We'll talk to the CEO and president momentarily. We're trying to get that set up right now.
We are, and we do have some catch up here on the last segment. We appreciate the Tolos.
I like ketchup.
For catch up on potato chips. I know you. Texter says Trump stripes them. Talking about his golf game. Says
Can you
everyone
explain that, by the way?
he hits the ball very well and very far.
Okay, thank you.
He also says everyone hates Donald Trump, so of course they say he cheats. Well, Texter,
Very,
I
very
didn't
far.
tell you. I didn't tell you who said that. So how would you know that person who I didn't identify hates Donald Trump? Like, how would you know? Okay, so now you're just you like Donald Trump, so you're saying anybody who says that he may not have the most honest record when it comes to his golf game obviously hates him. Anyway, Donald Trump is legit good at golf. There's very little evidence of him cheating, and the only evidence there is from 30 years ago. Another texter here says they played together and shot -22. So, yeah, there you go. That was the format. The goal was for them together to try and break 50. So, best ball, two golfers trying to break 50. Another texter said that they probably won't play from the same tee boxes. Bryson will give him strokes. Bryson is a +8 handicap, which means he averages finishing 8 under. Donald Trump's is a -2.5, so that's 10-stroke difference. So if Donald Trump is playing, and I haven't seen the video. I haven't seen any promotion for the video. If Donald Trump's playing from the gold tees, which are the senior tees,
Yeah.
he's got a big advantage on Bryson. So he can obviously maybe get the ball out farther, put it in a better position. It's just it's best ball between if the 2.5 handicap is true.
Yeah.
Trump's a good golfer, and the two of them together could go out there and shoot a really good round.
Buckeye Brian on the text line asked, what is Tolos? Buckeye, you must have just tuned in for the first time in a while, and we appreciate you doing that. Tolo, that's what you are, the listener. Used to be P1. We ask you to turn it on, leave it on. T-O-L-O, turn on, leave on. You're the Tolos. That's what we call you right here on the Fan Upstate. You know what's interesting? While we wait for Gary Stokan, Diesel, you know I'm not a golf guy, right? Don't play. Don't even think I could. I went to Top Golf on Friday, so maybe I
How'd you hit him?
I played this game where they have Angry Birds or these little angry pigs. It's like Angry Birds kind of, and you're shooting at the pigs, and basically like there's this big castle on the screen with all these little pigs. It's really fun.
It sounds like you're describing a fever dream.
No. Not yet. So then you look out on the, where you look out where the holes are, the big circles, whatever they're, the targets, and you have to basically, Diesel, pretend like what you're seeing on the screen is out there with the pigs. And you've got like these big houses with all these pigs. It's actually wildly entertaining. I was okay at it.
I haven't, but I've been to Top Golf a couple of times. I've never played that.
It's a new game.
Nice.
It's new.
Well, I want to go play.
Yeah, you're aiming, trying to kill the pigs. So
well, that's brutal.
Well, that's what you're doing. So it's fun. Anyways, back to what I was saying. I downloaded this game, shameless plug for this game, Ultimate Golf, probably 3 or 4 months ago. And I will tell you this, you know me, I'm a very like calm, relaxed, even keel kind of person. Don't get too high, don't get too low. There's very little things in my life that gets me like frustrated, blood boiling. This game, I had to delete it. I had to delete it off my phone. It got Diesel. It made me so frustrated. I was so mad. And I told myself, if I get mad at an app that's a golf app, there's no way I could do it in real life. I'd get too mad.
What did the golf app do that made you so angry?
I just wasn't good enough. Like I couldn't
figure it out.
I could figure it out. I just wasn't as good as I wanted to be. And me not being a golf guy, I expected perfection. Like I wanted to eagle every hole, and it wasn't possible. And I pissed about it.
I get it. I used to play Tiger Woods on PS3 or Xbox or whatever console we had it on. And we tried to play against Tiger Woods. Me and a buddy, we were both really good at this game. I mean, we were birdieing every single hole, yet we couldn't beat Tiger Woods. Like no matter what we did, we would have our player skill maxed out as far as it could possibly go. and we were striping the ball down the gut every single time, playing the wind perfectly, great at putting, all of it. Couldn't beat Tiger Woods. We're like, this is BS. Like, you can't beat Tiger Woods in this game. They make it so that you can't beat him. And it's brilliant on their part because, like, if you beat Tiger and that's the ultimate goal, well, you're going to put the game down, right? You're going to stop playing the game.
So that's that. I guess that's
to get
why
you to come back.
And it, I re-downloaded it.
Was it a freemium game that like asked you to buy stuff?
No, you can buy. You can purchase. Like in your golf bag, you can purchase as much as you want. However, I just ran with the basic, right?
Well, that's how freemium
Walmart
gaming
clubs.
works.
Yeah, I had the Walmart clubs though.
Yeah, they hook you with the free part of the game, but then if you want to advance and not take like forever doing it, you have to pay.
Yeah, and I don't do that. So I like what I love
man.
about this game is again, it's if you want to download it, it's an incredible game. It's ultimate golf. There's levels. So like in order to get this level, you have to have 50 trophies. In order to get this one, you had to have 150. The hard part about it though is not the holes. So you're playing Pebble Beach, all these great courses, right? So let's say you and I are playing against each other. Well, we both birdie. We have to go to the playoff, which is one hole, and closest to the pin wins. The problem is they put the pin like on the front edge of the hole. So you're hitting the ball, Diesel, and I'm just film every single time. I can't get you. So if this is yeah, exactly. That's the whole problem.
Were you hitting over the green every time?
No, I'd get on the green, but the problem is the freaking pin. They do this on purpose. They move it to the very front of the green, and there's very little space between the front of the green and the pin. So you're right.
Devious.
You barely hit it. Get that backspin, and it's so frustrating. But that's my whole point. If I played golf in real life, I feel like I would just get very, very frustrated. And I don't know if that's common. Is that all golfers do is just get mad the whole time?
Yeah, golfers get mad. They cuss. They drink. I mean, it sounds like a good time, right? Like, I don't understand why you don't like it. Like, I used to think that golf was this snooty sport where like everybody goes out, everybody's a choir boy.
Yeah.
Nobody's gambling, and I was wrong, my friend.
So it's not relaxing then, is what you're saying.
No.
Because that's
golf
my
is
problem.
Not relaxing at all. Like,
I do things to relax, decompress.
It depends on what you expect out of your round of golf. If you're going out there trying to get better as a golfer, it's going to be frustrating because you're going to hit bad shots, right? But if you just go out there and you genuinely don't keep score, and you say, well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I lose ball. Don't care. You know, I bought this 50 pack at Walmart. Don't care if I hit a ball into the woods. Whatever. It's no big deal. Or I found that ball. That's the great thing, man. See, like I try to make sure if I lose a ball on a golf hole, I try to do like the 1 in, 1 out situation. Because if you lose a golf ball by hitting one way out into the woods, but then you go find one, it's like you didn't lose a golf ball at all.
100%.
Assuming it's
you
the
might
same
have a
quality
nicer ball.
Right. Assuming it's the same quality ball.
You know, I was amazed when I was looking at golf ball prices the other day, just randomly at a store. Good God, you can spend some money on freaking balls.
TaylorMade.
Oh my God.
V1Xs.
It's unbelievable. I mean,
Titleist.
Is that the highest brand?
Yeah, Pro V1X.
So
Titleist Pro V1X are really good golf balls.
Here's where I am. Not quite into my 30s yet. I really enjoy watching it. Like, good golf. This weekend was kind of rough because the weather out there in Scotland, it was just horrible weather. Sunday was better, but the weather was just horrible. So you and I talked about it. It made for interesting golf overseas this weekend. And I get that a lot of golfers like that challenge. However, I love watching good golf. If we've had majors this year, the Sunday play at the majors we've had this year have been phenomenal. And I've enjoyed it. I don't play because I don't think I would be good at it, and I think it would frustrate me, and I don't have the time or the money to invest in it because it is a commitment, right? Like
that's why you should get an upstate golf card.
Good plug. And we were talking the other day, you and I were with Charlie James across the hall. In order to be good, I guess you have to play 3 times a week.
That's what I've learned is if you want to get better as a golfer, you have to get out there a lot. And just going to hit a bucket of golf balls, like everybody goes to the range and they want to just blast driver at the range.
What's that do?
It's not doing anything. Yeah. Like first of all, are you hitting your driver well? Are you learning anything? Have you figured out how to swing, and can you be consistent at doing it? If not, go get you some damn lessons. Quit messing around. You are not going to figure it out on your own. It is too complex of a motion to do and figure it out and be good at it without some sort of help.
So I was in Charlotte Friday, met up with our guy Shane Connick of the Charlotte Observer.
Sweet.
At Topgolf. And neither of him or I have any chance of being relevant ever in golf, even on the weekend tour. The point is, though, I told him, I can tell when I swing a golf club, I'm doing things so wrong because I know, Diesel, that when I swing a golf club, my back's not supposed to hurt. And it does. One swing, it's like, oh, God, what am I doing wrong?
Did you not warm up a little bit?
No.
Oh.
No. I don't know you're supposed to warm up. I don't know these things. And then I hit a driver, and I'm like, oh, I can hit a driver. I can hit the ball far. But all these other clubs, 5-iron, all these, I have no idea what any of them mean. I'm the dumbest of dumb when it comes to golf. It would take, I'm just telling you this, it would take a lot to get me good at golf.
Madcraft says if you don't shoot in the 80s currently, then you have no business playing Pro V1s.
The ball?
Yeah, he's right. You're wasting your money.
Why is that? I mean,
they're just expensive.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Right. And like good golfers, Cole, will go out on a day and play with like 2 sleeves of golf balls. It's like 6 golf balls.
Jeez,
and not
I need that for one hole.
Some can be really good and just play with the same pack of 3 golf balls. Like, not me. I gotta buy the box of 12, and I gotta have all those 12 in my bag, and then I've got to find a few along the way.
So can you get through 18 holes with 12 balls?
If that's all I had and I couldn't pick any up,
no picking up. No Easter egg hunt for you.
Yeah, I could. Now I would have to be smart because occasionally I'll get real frustrated. I was playing the Rock up in the mountains a few weeks ago, and I was playing a par 5 and tee shot, sprayed it off into the trees on the right.
Uh-huh.
So what do? I get another one, and I do the exact same thing again. And then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to drop up there and shoot from there. Well, it was par 5, so I had to hit a 3-wood. And what do? Spray another one over into the trees. I'm like, see, that's me being dumb, right? And if I'm playing Pro V1Xs, that's probably like $12 worth of golf balls.
God.
I mean, think about that.
That's crazy.
You're just throwing $10, $15 down the tubes.
That is a lot.
Yeah, so you got to be smart. Like if you're losing a lot of golf balls, don't hit Pro V1s.
Well, I won't buy those.
Go get the big box of Kirkland signatures, which are actually pretty decent golf balls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're actually pretty good.
Madcraft says the best golfers work their wedges on the range and only drive a few at the end. The game of golf is really about 50 yards and in.
Yep.
That's where you gain strokes.
It's true.
I've played multiple rounds with the same ball. 50 yards in. I hear professionals say that all the time.
Here's the funny thing. If I am playing with a golf ball that I paid my own money for, I will lose it. If I am playing golf with a golf ball that I found on the course, I will keep it for the rest of the round.
Not intentionally?
No,
it's just the way it works.
It's just the way it works.
Isn't that crazy, though?
Look, here's a brand new. See, I was dumb for a while. I thought, hey, I'm going to get good at golf. I'm going to go buy a box of Callaways. Good golf balls, right? But they're a little more expensive than the Kirkland signatures. And what do? I start losing Callaways nonstop. So I say, okay, you know what? Maybe I should hold the rest of these until I start getting better at golf.
Sure. Did you do that?
Yeah. I still got most of them. But Madcraft's not wrong. When you go to the range, start with your pitching wedge, start with your 8-iron, your 7-iron, your 6-iron. Start figuring out how far do these clubs go consistently. Like, all ranges have flags all over the place. The reason why we're talking about going to the driving range, like, why are these fools talking about this? Well, we're supposed to have Gary Stoken, CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, on.
He might be on.
He may be calling in. He's been dealing with a lot of flight issues, getting canceled, moved, delayed, etc. I saw a friend of mine just post on Facebook about his flight being 3 hours delayed. So we certainly understand Gary Stoken, and we do hope that he is able to come on with us. But no, you gotta look at what targets are out there, what flags are already out there, what known distances those are.
Yeah.
And then you got to figure out, all right, what club can I get up there and just swing normal? Like, not swinging hard. You're not swinging super soft. It's not a half swing. It's not I'm trying to absolutely whack it really hard. It sounds funny when I say it that way.
Group it,
but, you just got to swing easy, let the club do the work, and then figure out, oh, okay, if I'm trying to hit it 150 yards, then I know that my 8-iron is what gets me there.
And see, that's my problem, not being a golf guy. When I go anywhere and hit balls like Top Golf or wherever, me not knowing, I'm trying to kill it. I'm trying to kill it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And that's where I'm like, yeah, what am I doing wrong? That's what I'm saying. I really mean it. If I were to invest the time and the money into a golf coach, I think it would take a long time.
I took golf lessons 2 summers ago, got pretty decent.
Really?
I mean, like a lot better than I was.
How many lessons did you take? Do you remember? Just roughly.
Probably. So it was a little different format than like going and taking lessons with a range pro.
Okay.
This was like group lessons, right? I probably took, and I got lucky because it was unlimited. Go to as many classes as you want to, as many classes as you can attend. And the golf course was literally 150 yards away from my front door.
Wow.
So I could get over there. Like, I could take like 3 or 4 30-minute lessons in the same day before coming to work and coming to here.
It's nice.
So, I mean, I probably took easily, 20, 25 golf lessons.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
But then it moved farther away and then I couldn't go as much.
Yeah. So we might have Gary Stokan in the very next segment. Before we go to break, though, I do want to bring you Tolos up to speed on some local talent. Clemson left-handed pitcher and upstate native from Boiling Springs, Tristan Smith, has signed with the Cincinnati Reds for $600,000. It is $111,000 over slot value. So pretty cool to see Tristan Smith, the local guy, get signed by the Reds.
Also, a little side note, did not shout this out earlier, but Kevin Dix from Simpsonville won those 4 tickets to Carolina Panther Fan Fest.
How about that,
So
Kevin?
congratulations to you, Kevin. Rob, who is not on the air tomorrow, will not obviously have tickets to give away, but I will on location again at ACC Media Days in Charlotte. So we'll have another chance for you to win tomorrow. Probably going to happen in the 5 o'clock hour. Haven't really nailed that down yet. So just a heads up, we're going to have another chance for you to win tickets later on tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations. What'd you say, Kevin? Is that what it was?
Yep, Kevin.
Good job, Kevin. Congratulations to you. Hope you enjoy it. Maybe Gary Stokan next season. If not, you've got some
Daily Wires.
Daily Wires on the other side. Stay tuned. This is Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is The Fan Upstate.
Well, the rain has started to come down, Cole. Maybe as we're out there trying to enjoy Creed. Rob Brown is out there trying to enjoy Creed. Hopefully there's not any lightning flashes and buzz going on
Do
over
they have
his
any
head.
songs about rain, Creed?
Any songs about rain?
They could play
I
tonight
guarantee
to
you.
get a little feel of it. I mean, they've got to have some. I mean, they can't play Purple Rain because that's the.
They have a song called Rain.
No.
Yeah, they actually do have a song called Rain.
Creed has a song called Rain. I didn't know that.
I don't know the song off the top of my head.
It just shows you how much
Yeah.
Creed I listen to. But I don't know. That best of luck. Hopefully they get it in.
Hopefully it clears up.
If not, you know what that means?
Rob's gonna have to go work.
They
ACC
gotta work
media
tomorrow.
days.
They gotta work tomorrow. Have you heard this?
Is this Rain?
Yeah. Sorry, stream. You can't hear it.
That's awful. Can't you hear me?
Diesel's not a Creed fan if you can.
Let's just get into the Daily Wires.
Let's do it. It is the Daily Wires, as Diesel said.
There it is. Linking them together. I like it.
Getting good at this.
The Atlanta Braves lost on Monday to the Cincinnati Reds. They still suck.
The Reds haven't even announced a pitcher tonight because they don't need to. They don't need to.
So Braves will play the Reds at what time tonight?
I think it's 7:20. I'm looking as we speak right now.
7:20, yeah.
Yep.
Chris Sale will get the start for Atlanta. Martinez.
Oh, they named somebody.
Nick
Good.
Martinez will get the start for the Cincinnati Reds.
You know, the Braves are, after the All-Star break, they have yet to lead in a game.
Oh, no.
It's not good.
No.
By the way, if you didn't know that.
It's not. Women's Team USA beat Germany 84-57. Total dominance there. Congratulations to the ladies. The men, not so much. They narrowly edged out Germany 92-88 at London's O2 Arena. Of course, that's immediately following the near loss to South Sudan.
Yeah, it's rough.
So Team USA looking very vulnerable, right? Very beatable. So the question is this Team USA just not good together? Because obviously it's a collection of the best players in the NBA. Are they just not good together? Have they not gelled yet? Or has the rest of the world caught up to American basketball?
I don't think they're playing well. I mean,
Really?
I watched Saturday, was it South Sudan on Saturday, I believe, and they're just not. I mean, you look at the guys that are on that roster. Are you kidding me? Diesel, they should be obliterating teams. And I don't know if they're just in exhibition mode and they're not locked in. I don't know what the excuse is. I'm sure there is one.
They should out-talent whoever they play no matter what.
They should kill them. You know what the spread was Saturday for that South Sudan game? 45.
They won by one.
45 points. And you win by one. That's terrible.
I bet Drake bet the over.
Thanks, Drake.
NFL Players Association Executive Director Lloyd Howell told the Washington Post that discussions have reached, quote, a very high level over potentially adding an 18th NFL regular season game. Now, he did say that those discussions have been internal inside the NFLPA, not direct negotiations with Roger Goodell and the league. So still on hold as far as that's concerned.
I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan. You and I talked
either.
about it in hour number one. I understand that people don't like preseason games. I get that. Preseason games are not enjoyable for a fan. I still think they're meaningful for the coach and the player personnel, but it's expanding to 18 games. I just don't know big picture. Other than the dollar, the money, right, that everybody knows is the most important thing here, Diesel. Other than that, what does it actually do for the game? Big picture, you're going to risk more guys getting hurt, more games, playoffs. Your best players may not be playing. I think it's a terrible idea, and the PA should just absolutely push back.
Matt Stafford, now we are in, as everybody's headed towards their NFL training camps, we are in player holding out season. Matthew Stafford has reported to Rams camp after a contract adjustment, but Jets' Hassan Reddick is skipping training camp over contract disputes. He is in the last year of his contract, is scheduled to make $14.5 million this season. He will be fined $50,000 per day during his holdout. and his fine cannot be waived.
I think I'm gonna start holding out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, it can't be waived. You can't write it off. Sorry. How many
Yeah.
days could you hold out at $50K a day?
What do you mean? How many days could I? Are you kidding me? How many days could I hold out? $50 a day is what you need to be asking.
Yeah, you find me $50 a day. I'm like, whatever you want me to do, man.
Yeah.
Whatever you want me to do. Just imagine having that kind of money. We're $50,000 a day.
I can't imagine.
Like,
this
do
problem.
they penalize these guys and make them pay $50,000 per day? Like, let's just say you hold out 4 days, right?
200?
Do they penalize you and make you pay $200K, or do they just take $200,000 off of what they were going to pay you?
Probably take it off. I would
Yeah.
assume. But dang, that's still like the principle of that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Steve Kerr, speaking of Team USA, Steve Kerr says that there are no plans right now to remove Kevin Durant from Team USA while he recovers from his calf strain. The roster is not completely finalized. They still could be making tweaks that should be finalized later on this week. We talked about Bobby Witt Jr. a lot because he was in the home run derby, but he fell a single short of hitting for the cycle last night against the Diamondbacks. He had a triple in the first. He doubled in the third, a 3-run home run in the fourth, and was plunked in the sixth by Diamondbacks pitcher Humberto Castellanos.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Just got hit.
He
Right
did.
in the back.
The thing is, this then creates that back and forth tit for tat. And in the seventh, Royals reliever John Schreiber plunked Gabriel Morento.
I love that.
Both benches had to be warned. Coaches were yelling at the umpires. I mean, it got kind of heated, right? It got kind of nasty. Had Bobby Witt actually hit for the cycle, he would have been the first Royal in 34 years to accomplish that feat.
Pretty impressive.
Do you really think that the Diamondbacks pitcher plunked him on purpose to keep him from getting the cycle?
So. Absolutely. Wouldn't you? I mean, I'd throw it right at him. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
So I wonder, Cole, like, remember we were talking last year about Aaron Judge and just that phenomenal season that he had,
sure,
and that run that he went on. Would you rather have the personal satisfaction of knowing that Aaron Judge did not get his record-breaking home run off of you, or would you rather go? This could be a 5 o'clock fight. Would you rather go into the history books as the pitcher off of which Aaron Judge hit his record-breaking home run? Because if you strike Aaron Judge out, let's just say you're facing him towards the end of the season, the record, I don't remember what the record was off the top of my head, like 70 home runs, right? Let's just say he's got 70, the record is 71. Mm-hmm. You strike him out, no one ever knows that you struck him out. You know, your team knows, but outside of that, like, nobody cares.
You're right.
But if he hits 71 off of you, the record-breaking home run, now forever the record books will say Aaron Judge hit his record-breaking 71st home run off of Cole Bryson. Your name goes in.
No, I hear you. I just I do not want Diesel that publication. I don't want to be known as the guy that Aaron Judge hit the record off of. I would rather no one know except for me that I didn't allow it to happen, rather than it happening and everybody knowing, oh, by the way, Cole let him hit that record home run. That'd be tough for me.
So those are your daily wires. Texter says, I can go an entire round of golf on 1 or 2 golf balls. Sometimes I'll have to change one out if it hits the cart path.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, you scuff the golf ball, it changes the way it flies. I get it. It makes sense. Texter says, I typed this using T9. It's a whole bunch of numbers, which I believe reads send nudes.
Oh, dear God. Our Tolos. Did a Tolos send that?
Oh, no. Sorry, I misread. Epstein didn't kill himself. That's what it says.
There's no way our Tolos would say anything like that. That's incredible. Real quick, are you interested in Team USA basketball more than you?
Just no. I'm more interested in the track and field than I am Team USA basketball.
Wait a minute. I thought I was the one that wasn't watching the Olympics. Now I'm watching Team USA and you're not.
Well, it's because it's basketball and it's LeBron James and you'll,
Sure. Stop there.
Metaphorically, get on your knees for LeBron James.
I've listened to enough of you.
Listen to enough of you. I've listened to enough of you. I'm watching the basketball. Here's what I said. I know several weeks ago I was very adamant about not caring about the rest of the Olympics. I will watch other Olympic sports as long as I can find myself, who, by the way, is very ADHD and can't sit still for – as long as I can find myself intrigued, Diesel, by it and what's going on, I'll watch, okay? I'll change my tune and I'll watch. Yes, you're right. I do watch the basketball because I love the NBA and I love LeBron, and it fascinates me to watch those collective members play with each other. Even though they're terrible right now, it's fascinating to watch all of those same guys on the same team. You know, it's just a shame that they're not beating people the way they should. However, I'll give the other sports a chance. I don't want to be that guy whenever they start. That's terrible. I don't even know. They're pretty soon. Pretty soon. We talked about it the other day.
Oh, man. Rob is in for a long, wet night.
Why do you say that?
Because
it's raining?
This is what's coming our way. I'm going to hold it up there for the Tolos on the stream.
Looks like a
coming right at him.
Looks like a nice night to stay inside.
Sorry, Rob.
Right? They won't have the concert if it's down. I mean, will Creed play in the downpour in Greenville, South Carolina?
Creed's got the Lord's protection. They're not going to get struck by lightning or anything.
Well,
no. Here is a problem actually with that particular venue. There's no cover for the front of the stage, so it's not like PNC in Charlotte where there's this huge roof over the stage, and only the people out in the lawn are the ones getting wet. No, the stage at CCNB can get wet, and
probably not good.
They had a huge cluster a couple of months back with a show that was in weather like this.
Really?
So I'd be willing to bet that they are going to look very closely at canceling the show.
We'll preview day 3 of ACC Media Days. Diesel and I were supposed to be there. Diesel will be there. I will be here producing the show. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. Teamwork makes the dream work. We'll preview day 3, put a bow on today's show next. Diesel, tomorrow is day numero tres, day 3 of ACC Media Days. You will be there in Charlotte. I think it's interesting. We talked about this with Rob earlier. I just don't think there's any coach besides Dabo and Norvell, any coach, any program that will consistently draw a big crowd to Charlotte, which, by the way, we didn't talk about this with Rob. Charlotte doesn't have the media following in the area that Dallas does. And SEC has a lot to do with that. But I don't know that there's anybody in the ACC that's going to ever create that consistent draw. And I think comparing it to the SEC may be a little unfair.
Well, you would think, Cole, that at least more of the national level writers and reporters would show up to ACC Media Days. I'm shocked that Josh Pate wasn't there. At least he wasn't yesterday. I didn't see anywhere on his itinerary that said he was going to be there. We did see a handful. We saw Tom Luganbill, but also
and he's part of the ACC
he's
network.
part of the ACC network.
You know who else wasn't there?
Who?
Brett McMurphy.
Right?
So
not there.
These are the biggest names in the voice day right now.
Yeah. So there you go. Those are some of the biggest names in the industry choosing to go to Big Ten Media Day over ACC Media Day. And I don't know. Brett works for the Action Network now. He doesn't work for ESPN like he did years ago. I don't know if Brett McMurphy's company has the money to fly him back and forth and say, hey, Brett, you do Big Ten Media Days on Mondays, do ACC on Tuesday, Big Ten on Wednesday, or 2 days here, 2 days there. They haven't shown that they have the ability to do that. So I don't know if he would split his time. We did run into who's that media member that was sitting in front of us yesterday?
Not Pete Thamel.
Pete Thamel, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pete Thamel was there. Pete Thamel, big name in the media reporting world. He was there. But outside of that, Cole, it was pretty bereft of the stars.
And the national media, there wasn't a lot of them there as you would see at SEC Media Days in Dallas. And look, the reality of it is they're two completely different leagues in terms of coaches. Not to say there aren't good coaches in the ACC. Players, not to say there aren't good players in the ACC. Staffs, again, it's different. It is the SEC. I know everybody jokes about it just means more, but Diesel, it does.
Well, it was a brilliant move for them to move SEC Media Days to Dallas 100%. This year because obviously there's all this fervor with Texas coming in. Yeah. So it made tremendous amount of sense. I mean, they had this thing at in Alabama like they have in the past. It would have been wildly attended. I mean, I can only judge my view of what I think SEC Media Days is based off of what we see online.
Sure.
And what we see limited on television. And obviously on television, we're watching a TV set. We're not actually seeing a ton of what's going on. So the way Rob described yesterday at ACC Media Day said it was much quieter and more muted compared to years past. And then I've got to think, okay, well, that's quieter and muted than the SEC Media Day and probably Big Ten Media Day as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what if, and I've got some friends who are there covering Sunbelt Media Days today.
So gone today too.
What if Sunbelt Media Days is equal or more fervent than ACC Media Day? On the whole, right? Like I understand that on tomorrow Thursday when Dabo's there, it's a zoo, right? That's what that's how they always describe ACC Media Day because all of the Clemson reporters come up from the upstate and they go to Charlotte. All the ACC Media Day guys or media guys out of Columbia will drive up for Dabo Swinney. They're not driving up for Mike Norvell. And that honestly shocked me, Cole, that we didn't see more Florida State media there yesterday.
No.
They're a favorite. They won the conference last year. They should be picked highly again to do it again this year. I mean, the fact that Florida State, with all of its national attention that it got last year, didn't have a larger contingent of reporters who wanted to cover that. I mean, that's telling. That's telling. This conference is The Walking Dead.
It is, and that's what's sad. There's no really – as much as we want to try to hype it up, it's really tough. I'll tell you this, though. When you talk about teams coming into the conference, you look at the difference. In the ACC Media Days versus the SEC Media Days, well, look at the teams joining the ACC. Cal, Stanford, and SMU. And one of them had the death penalty. Look at the teams joining the SEC, Texas and Oklahoma.
Yep.
There's a big difference, and that's why the coverage is
Yeah.
different. And no disrespect to the ACC and the guys that play, because there are a lot of good players, and especially players that go to the league. It's just it all. I know we talk about super conferences a lot, Diesel, but the reality of it is it already is.
Well, the problem for the ACC is all of the biggest brands have been gobbled up. I mean, irrespective of Clemson and Florida State being unhappy in your conference, all the biggest brands have been gobbled up. And even if you were able to siphon off like some that makes sense to you geographically, like West Virginia ain't adding any steam to this conference.
No.
I mean, the only thing that you could add, the only property that ACC could add that makes anybody pay attention is Notre Dame.
And the only thing that could happen that would actually help not just ACC Media Days, but the conference in general, Diesel, would be Notre Dame being elite, Clemson being elite, and then your two Florida schools, Florida State and Miami, being back. If you had, think about that. If Miami, Florida State, Clemson, Notre Dame were all in the 12-team playoff every year fighting, each other in terms of having playoff contention, maybe the ACC would garnish that attention. But guess what? Miami's irrelevant. Florida State, they were good last year for the first time in a long time. Clemson's dropped off, and Notre Dame's not nationally who they used to be.
And Notre Dame doesn't show up to ACC Media Day.
That's true.
So here's what the ACC Media Days ought to do. Here's what the conference ought to do. Just move the Media Days to Florida. Stop doing it in Charlotte. Stop. You want people to show up, you move it to Orlando. You're essentially halfway between Miami and Tallahassee.
Cal and Stanford.
Right.
I mean,
if you want this thing, if you want this thing to be highly attended, you put it in Orlando or you put it in Jacksonville, right? So there you go. You make Dabo Swinney be the headliner on one day, Mike Norvell the headliner on another day, and then who's Miami's head coach?
They just hired him. I'm drawing a blank.
Mario Cristobal.
Mario.
Yeah.
Because Manny went to Duke.
Can't take a knee, Mario Cristobal.
Yeah.
Put Mario Cristobal on one day, Norvell on another day, Dabo on another day. Maybe Mac Brown is the headliner on day 4.
Oh, that's tough.
Maybe. That's the best I got.
But no,
that's the best I got.
Yeah, I know.
As far as a draw.
And Notre Dame not showing up hurts.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's a national
You really
brand.
need Notre Dame to show up.
But they want to, I guess they're
Thumb their
too
noses.
good. They're too good for media days. I don't know why. I don't know the
Are they in the
legitimate-
conference or are they not in the conference?
Well, that's the whole point. I don't know the legitimate reason they don't show up. I don't know.
I mean,
So-
would I have been front and center to watch Marcus Freeman? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That'd have been great, but no. It is what it is. It's sad, but you know what? Maybe it'll be better next year. We'll see. Maybe there'll be no conference next year.
Do you think Jim Phillips has enough juice to force Notre Dame to show up to Media Day?
No. Negative.
We'll be back to doing it tomorrow at another episode of Tolos on the Road. How about it?
Let's do it.
Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Cole Bryson going to be here in studio. I'll be live in Charlotte at ACC Media Days. Day number 3, will Rob Brown show up and go to work, or will he still be crying in the corner of his home somewhere because Creed looks like it's going to get rained out tonight.
See you, Tolos.
See you tomorrow.